Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the recovery addict, and boy, do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy
They
there.
got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughened him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
9 out of 10 judges prefer watching the Recovery Addicts live stream in their courtroom.
The fireworks are not done.
Now we're getting commentary on the case.
Bring the jury. Let no dead horse go unbeaten.
I'm not a cat.
No, and we're not stolen.
There's a lawsuit.
All right, I'm going to be right back.
I was a kickback, taking it easy.
I have the wrong mug. So I can't live stream yet. I think I've got like pizza on my face as well. Let's see. Yep, looks awful. Okay, we're good. Had to run to the post office. And it was a little bit late getting back. Do apologize for that. We're not going to miss anything, I think. Let's see. Yeah, we've got 5 minutes before the judge is back, I think. Okay. Yes. So I have the wrong mug, but have no fear. Hang on one second. When I got to the post office, I have this this amazing package, and it says it's from the 13th juror. Let's do a quick little check here. Part of the problem is you have to be able to figure out how to open it. Let's see. Okay. So far, so good. Oh man, it's like a puzzle. There's like layer upon layers. You have to peel the onion.
Let
not a
no
camel.
dead horse go unbeaten.
I'm going to need a sharp instrument. Where's a bailiff when you need one?
I'm not a cat.
I guess we'll never know what's in here. Let's see. Gretchen Birnbaum, welcome. Good to have you as a member of the gallery. Welcome. Thanks so much. Good to have you here. Please take your seat. Appreciate that. I think Miss Beezy, did I get that right? Also joined as a member during the
I was a
Alex Stoller.
kickback, taking
as
it
we're
easy.
waiting to get going.
Bring the
No
jury.
pocket knife shame. I know. I need to surrender my man card right now if I don't have something sharp to open this. So I'm scrambling. Is a key work? Does a key save me? See, my post office box key is actually pretty sharp. Let's see. Yes, we have a winner. Coffee, crime, wine, and yada, yada, yada on this one right here, which is just an awesome, awesome little mug. Let me open this other one here. I think we've got a match set maybe for Mrs. R.A. and for me. JT and Brandy, thank you very much. You guys are amazing. I can't open it. And I have styrofoam all over my shirt now as well. That's going to look
Are
good.
we going to address subject matter jurisdiction?
And yes, I got the 13th juror as well. Okay, it's got styrofoam all over me, but this is awesome. We will need this for the Lori Vallow
Alex stole it as
verdict,
well.
which is coming up. JT, Brandy, thank you so much. Appreciate
about
that.
Stuff that is not relevant.
My key trying to open that box was not the right move. I shredded it, and now because I'm wearing a black shirt or a relatively black shirt, it's showing up quite apparently on my clothing. That is awesome. I love it. I love this.
I'm not a camel.
They did a good job with their mug. I need to talk to whoever designs their stuff and have them help me. Is Vallow on a verdict watch yet? I don't think so yet. Whether
There's a
live stream the closing arguments? No, unfortunately, Luke. We're only going to get the verdict on that case. Trying to tighten my mic here just a little bit. There we go. I think I'm going to switch out my mic head. I have 4 of these, like this part right here, this microphone. I have 4 of them, and I don't like this one. I think it's just a little. It's sloppy. It's loose. Flops around. Doesn't JT have his own channel? Which channel? He has like 5 podcasts, a couple websites, and a full-time job and a part-time job. I think. I'm gonna go broke buying the 13th juror stuff. Their stuff is so good, and they're so quick at getting it out too.
Alex stole it as well.
Polystyrene, not styrofoam. I don't know what it is. Yes, I highly recommend the mug. As a tester now, this is a great little mug, and I love the 13th juror logo. Looks fantastic. Hey, Annie Pistol, welcome. We're just about to get started. The judge should be back any minute now. We just have a courtroom feed of the great seal of the great state of New Hampshire. Is all we have visible to us right now. So hopefully we'll get something soon with bad audio as well. Prosecution is still doing closing arguments. Is the prosecution on part 2, or has defense gone yet, Aunt Mal?
There's a lawsuit.
You know what else I got in the post office? I almost forgot. I got a pen that says, "Our fearless leader, R.A." It's a nice pen case. It's got my name on it as well. It's like a leather-wrapped pen. It's really nice. Really nice. But it says recovery addict on the pen as well, and it's just soft touch. Nice. Uh-oh, buffer. Chat's not on screen. That's my problem. Sorry. Chat's on screen now. But I have to back up because we have a new winner. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Where was the... Wait. Where'd it go? You know who you are. Who was it? Oh, man.
I'm not a camel.
I don't think... Was it Boston Girl? No, not Boston Girl. We have a new winner of the internet. I'm looking. Who was it? I missed it because it scrolled off the screen. I got sidetracked eating my pizza. My apologies.
Squirrel.
Yes, it happens. Oh, man. Who won? Oh, own up, okay? You know who you are. You know who you are.
Now it Murdoch stole it.
It was Golden Girl. There you go. Me. Golden Girl, congratulations. That's the face. We knew you would won the internet. Thank you for being first in chat, for breaking the ice, letting everybody else know the water's fine. Come on in. And as a penalty or punishment for as a prize for your prestigious achievement, you will forever be known on the records of the court as a winner of the internet, and you get to take care of everything IP related for the rest of the day. And the judge is back, and the jury's coming back too, so we're ready to go. Golden Girl, thank you. You've got it from here.
State calls Mark Castiglione.
Okay, so they just called a new witness, so it sounds like they are not admitting that evidence on that gun case. Bite me, I'm sorry I missed your 4-month post.
You make your way up to the witness chair, but remain standing for me. If you'll raise your right hand, do you swear the testimony you'll give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Okay, you can have a seat. And if we could start with just stating your full name and spell your last name for the record.
Mark Castiglione, Castiglione.
And how do you know the defendant, Brandon Castiglione?
He's my son.
How old is your son?
28 now.
When's his birthday?
28/94.
Do you have any other kids?
Yes, I have Danielle, my daughter.
How did you know the victim in this case, Luis Garcia?
Oh, we knew him from our church we went to.
How long had you known him?
A few years at the time.
Mr. Castiglione, where do you live?
15 Ridgemont Drive in Londonderry, New Hampshire.
Do you own that home?
Yes.
How long have you lived there?
At this point, about 25 years.
Has the defendant lived with you at that house before?
Majority of that time, yes.
When you say majority of that time, what do you mean?
Well, he's older than 25 years old, so he lived there most of his life, or almost all of it.
Can you tell us a little bit about your house, a little description of it?
It's a split. Has a downstairs. You go downstairs. It's finished. Basement. Upstairs is finished as well, obviously, and it's just a split. How it's set up, with stairs going up and going down.
And we already got our first little hang up here, waiting for the audio feed to catch up.
Stairs.
Man, I want to hear this guy. Come on, let's fix the connection here. There might be fireworks. It's already, you can see there's a little tension in the air between the prosecution and...
Leading up to October of 2019?
Yeah, about that.
Was anyone else living with you at 15 Ridgemont Drive?
They've got to sort this out. It's not on my end, guys. I'm sorry. I wish I could fix it. Waiting. Come on.
Maybe.
I know this is awful timing. We can live with the audio, but we need the video. Golden Girl, this is squarely on your shoulders. I need you to fix it. Push the buttons, whatever you need to do. Jiggle the cords. Maybe change out a couple wires. Let's see.
Any point himself at that time.
Okay, we're getting it sorted. Hang on.
What?
This poor guy, it was his bride and the preacher that was shot. Apparently he was not shot. I was mistaken on that one. But we may never know at this point.
Up to October of 2019, what was your schedule like for work?
Typically I had to work around 6-ish. You know, it was like I left at around 4 in the afternoon.
So you say you left around 6-ish. What do you mean by that?
Well, in the morning, I got up and left the house to head to work around 6 or so.
Okay. And then you would leave your work to head back home around 4?
Yeah, approximately.
And that was every weekday you would do that?
Yeah, generally.
I know now people are used sometimes to working from home with recent events, so I'm wondering if at the time, did you spend any time working in the home?
No, not at that time.
Did you have a car at the time?
Yes.
Did you have one car or 2 cars?
One.
Did Brandon have a car at the time?
At that time, I don't believe he did, no. Oh, well, actually, we had a lease at that time that he was using, and I turned that in after the lease expired.
Was that before October of 2019?
I'm trying to think. I thought so. I'm not 100% sure.
So you think it was before then?
No, I think I turned it in. I thought it was after the event.
What kind of car was that?
I'm trying to think now. I don't recall.
You said Brandon used that car?
Not at that time, no.
So he wasn't using that car? a leased car?
I don't believe he was. I could have the timing off here because I'm not even sure. It could have been that I turned it in before them. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. So you're not sure if you had one or two cars at that time?
Yeah, I could have. I know I had at least the Accord. Anyway.
Okay. And the Accord was yours?
Yes.
Did Brandon have a license to drive at that time?
Not at that time, no.
Told us a little bit about, so he didn't have a license, not sure or not if that you had that leased car, but how was Brandon getting around in September of 2019, leading up to October 1st?
Well, he was involved with the church and a couple other churches. He had people that, relatives that went out and they did different functions for the church. And I transported him myself quite a bit where he wanted to go. So basically, he didn't have a car, so. And he didn't really go out too much at that time.
What was his routine like at the time?
I know that he had a routine. Like I said, we did a lot of events at the church. We did a lot of things during the week as well. Either Bible study or prayer. We had several things going on during the week.
Sure. Were those activities in the morning, in the evening?
Mostly in the evening.
Okay. So
during the week.
During the week. During the day, during the week, then, do you know what his routine was?
Well, I was at work, so I don't know exactly what his routine was.
Was Brandon typically awake when you would leave for work?
Well, in most cases, I wouldn't notice him being awake, so I couldn't say if he was or not.
Did you ever check in with Brandon during the day while you'd be at work?
Once in a while I would. See how he's doing.
How often?
I'm not sure exactly. It might not have been every day.
Would he typically, you would contact him by phone?
Yes.
Would he typically answer his phone?
Sometimes he wouldn't. I don't remember him answering most of the time. A lot of times I'd call and he didn't answer.
Was there a group of friends that Brandon was hanging out with at the time?
He didn't really hang around his old friends because, you wanted to keep away from a bad element, so to speak.
So there's a history.
Were there any newer friends that he had been hanging out with at the time that you were aware of?
I know that he had met people at a church that he was attending other than the one we generally attended, and also they would go to a couple of events and he would get picked up. And also I think that his grandmother and grandfather would come and pick him up sometimes to do something with. They used to go to a nursing home or something once in a while and minister to the elderly there.
So it sounds like Brandon was pretty involved in his church. I think you've referred to it so far, but what church is that?
Well, NEP is the name of it. That's it's New England Pentecostal in Pelham. That was our main church, but he had other ones he liked to attend as well.
Okay. How long had he been attending NEP?
Oh, it's got to have been a few years, 2 or 3 years at least.
Prior to October of 2019?
No, he didn't. Actually, it was it was probably 2 or 3 years prior to 19. Correct.
Did you go with him to New England Pentecostal?
Yes.
Were you as active there as Brandon seemed to be?
Not quite as much, but I went to NEP just about as much. But he had other churches, events he might do that I wouldn't do.
So you kind of generally told us about some of those church-related activities. How often exactly during the week was Brandon participating in activities, Bible study, prayer?
Oh, it was a few times a week. It was Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays. We had Sunday for sure. Sometimes we'd go on Saturday for men's group. So there was quite a lot of things that we were involved with.
Did you go with him to each of those activities?
Mostly, yes.
What about on Thursday nights? Was there a particular activity you two took part in?
Thursday nights. Off the top of my head, I can't think.
Would you have a Bible study regularly on Thursday nights?
I thought it was Tuesday nights, to be honest with you. Thursday nights as far as outside the church, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a private group that we'd get together and do a Thursday evening Bible study.
Okay.
Yes.
Where would that typically be held?
Well, initially we took turns, but towards the the last 2-3 months before the event, we were mostly meeting at the Garcia's house.
And the Garcias, who are you referring to there?
Louis Garcia and Patty Garcia.
So that's Luis and his wife Patty.
Yes.
Who else would attend those Bible studies?
The main people that would be Fran and Jeff Pastana, Mike and Doreen would be another couple that would be there, myself and Brandon, and there would be other people popping in here and there, and obviously Louis and Patty, but that was the core group mostly.
Who are Fran and Jeff Pastana?
Well, Fran is Brandon's grandmother, and Jeff is married to Fran.
I want to ask you a little bit about Brandon and Luis's relationship. When did they meet?
At the church, I believe. That would be,
Do you remember when before October of 2019?
No, I don't.
Okay. Had it been over a year?
I'm sure it was, yes.
What was their relationship like?
Pretty good.
Did you ever see them have disagreements?
Well, disagreements maybe on scripture, but everyone did.
Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about that then.
Well, we'd be reading scripture during, for instance, the Thursday night, and everyone might have their own interpretation. And he was no different from anybody else as far as he was a little less. Some people were louder than others. Brennan was actually soft-spoken of the group, but everyone had their own interpretation of what we were talking about. Mm-hmm. So we discussed it. Yes.
Was Brandon passionate about those discussions?
Passionate, and yeah, he's passionate about the word. Yes.
About how often would specifically Brandon and Luis get into those disagreements?
Not too often.
Okay.
I remember a couple that again. He's one of the soft-spoken of the crew, but everyone, went back and forth with things. Some people were louder than others, and everyone, again, he was no different than anybody.
In the weeks leading up to October 1st, 2019, have the two of them been doing anything together? And outside of church or Bible-related activities, I mean.
Oh yeah, well, during the time, a few weeks prior to that, they were. Louis was working on painting my house, and Brandon was there most of the time, so they did stuff together.
Do you know of any specific activities they did?
Yeah, they. Well, I know they might have went out for coffee, but they also, I believe, they went out shooting not too long before the event.
Did they go to a firing range, or
I believe so. Yes.
And how long before October 1st was that?
Could have been a matter of a week or two, or so.
So Brandon went shooting with Luis. Did Brandon have a gun at the time?
Yes.
Did he have just one or more than one?
Well, he had. I think he had another one. He had a Glock, but he had a Sigma 22, I believe, which he actually gave to Louis, I believe.
So you said he had a Glock, is that
Glock,
right?
yes.
Okay, and then a Sig 22.
Sig 22, right.
But he gave that to Luis?
I believe so, yes.
When did he give that to Luis?
It wasn't that long prior to, during the time of the event.
That was before October 1st?
Yes.
So at the time of October 1st, did Brandon only have the one gun then?
I believe so.
Had you ever seen Brandon shoot that gun?
Yes.
When was that?
Well, we used to go shooting ourselves. We had gone, I don't know, maybe a couple of months longer prior to that was the last time before then. And we went to I think it was the Manchester firing range and shot there.
Okay. And specifically you saw Brandon shoot that Glock?
Yeah, he used that, yeah.
Do you recall what kind of Glock it was or anything more specific other than
it's a 9mm.
Okay. Did you shoot the gun at that time?
Yeah, I probably did. We probably trade off here and there.
Do you recall it operating normally for you?
I believe so.
Did it appear that Brandon was operating it without any trouble?
I believe so.
When did Brandon purchase that gun?
I don't recall exactly.
Do you know where he kept the gun?
I know that he had a drawer in his near his desk that had a key lock on it, and I believe he kept it in there.
The drawer had a key lock on, or
yes.
the cabinet itself?
The is like a cabinet, yeah,
okay.
Cabinet drawer.
And it had a key lock on it?
I believe so, yes.
Show you. Give me one moment, please. May I approach the witness?
You don't need to ask anymore.
It's a new witness. I know.
Throughout the course of the trial, you can just feel free to roam around the well of the court.
Thank you.
Stop asking me. Stop asking me questions.
We understand that the defense would not object, Your Honor. We'd ask that States 30 be admitted as a full exhibit.
It's admitted.
All right, so I'm showing you States 30. Do you recognize what's in this photo?
Well, that's the cabinet right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the one you're referring to where Brandon kept his gun?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Point out to you, so the TV over here, is that the same picture we were just looking at?
Yes.
Okay. And so that cabinet, where was that cabinet located in Brandon's room?
Well, if you entered the room, it would be on the right side, towards the right side, not all the way against the wall, but his bed would be against the wall. It would be toward like in the middle of the room, probably.
That's it.
Straight back.
I saw you gesturing with your hand, pointing when you said bed. Is the bed also depicted in this picture?
It looks like the end of it's right there on the right.
Okay, so on which side of the picture?
On the right side.
Okay. I'm going to show you now a couple more pictures. Do you know, did Brandon keep the gun specifically inside of anything else within that cabinet?
Well, he had a case.
Okay.
For it.
Had you seen the case before?
I believe, yeah. I think I've seen it in that drawer, probably.
Okay. I'll show you States 34. Is that the case that Brandon kept his gun in?
It looks like it.
Okay. If you're having trouble seeing it from there, I can show you the actual photo. Would you prefer that?
No, it looks okay to me.
And then States 37, again, is that the same Glock gun case?
I believe so.
Okay. Had you seen the gun in that case?
I probably have, but I can't remember the last time I did. You know, if he would have brought it with him in the case if we went shooting. You know, that might have been the last time. I'm not sure.
And you said that there was a key lock on that cabinet. Did you have access to that cabinet, that set of drawers?
No.
Okay. Had you ever been in there to look for the gun or to?
Well, I might have seen it in there with the drawer open. You know what I mean? So that's why I know that. You know.
Okay. But you had never taken a key and unlocked the cabinet?
No, I didn't have the key.
Were you aware at the time, on October 1st, was Brandon still keeping that gun in the case in that cabinet next to his bed?
I can't be 100% sure.
Okay. So I want to talk now a little bit about yours and Luis's relationship. Had you known Luis for some time before October 2019?
Yeah, well, for the 2 or 3 years that we were attending the church, you know, most of that time, I believe. I might not have known him initially, but eventually we did connect.
Okay. In the weeks leading up to October 1st, 2019, had Luis been coming to your house?
Yeah, he was, like I said, he had offered to paint, do some painting in my house. So if that's what you're referring to, for the last 2 or 3 weeks prior to the event, he was there doing that for me.
How long had you said 2 or 3 weeks?
I think it was around that time frame where, you know, he was into it.
What did the typical day when he was working in the house look like? What time would he get there in general?
Well, if he did go there, he didn't go every day, but when he did go there, it was generally probably mid-morning, I'm thinking.
Okay.
Maybe even earlier. Maybe, you know, 8 or something. I'm not sure exactly what time he started, but I sort of remember being around that time or a little later.
Okay. Was he ever there before you left in the morning?
No.
Okay. When you left every morning, I think you said around 6, right?
Yeah, around that.
Would you leave the house locked?
Yes.
Okay. So if you've left and Luis is showing up after you've left, how would he get into the locked house?
I usually left the key under the mat for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where was that mat located?
Right in front of the door, actually.
Would he leave the key where he had found it before?
Yeah, he would generally, from what I remember, he left it under the mat when he left. So when I got home later on, I would see it under the mat.
Do you know, and you may not, but do you know if Brandon ever let him inside the house?
I can't say for sure. When I'm working during the day, I don't know. He could have.
Your front door, I imagine it has a doorknob on it.
Yes.
Does it also have another locking mechanism on it?
Yeah, it has the bolt lock.
The bolt lock, okay. And
The
is
bolt
that...
lock- go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that the bolt lock is the only thing that's functional on that door, the old door I have. The doorknob lock didn't function.
Okay, so let's take that piece by piece then. So you've replaced the door that was there at the time, on October 1st.
Yes, I have a new door there now.
But at the time, that door that you had, you said that the doorknob lock didn't work?
Yeah, it wasn't. It was like the place where the bolt would go into was filled in, so it didn't go into any kind of locking mechanism or any hole in there. It was filled in with putties.
Okay. So what did that key that you left for Luis, which lock did that work with?
That would be the bolt.
Okay. Did anyone help Luis as he worked through your home?
Not that I'm aware of.
Do you know, did he ever have friends or other people over while he was there working?
Not that I recall, no.
Did you ever speak with Luis while you were at your job in Billerica and he was at your house working?
Yeah, I sort of made it a habit to, when he was going in, to call him around my break time just to get an update and see how he's doing and so forth. So probably most of the time when he was there, I would probably, I remember I called him just to see what's up.
What time would that be, your break time?
Well, probably after 9:30.
Did Luis answer your calls?
Generally, yes.
When you say generally, what does that mean?
That means that most of the time he would.
I want to talk to you now about October 1st, 2019, and what happened that day. Can you start just by telling us how you started your day?
Normally, I would get up, get ready, leave the house around 6-ish, like I normally did, and head to work.
Did you go straight to work, or did you make a stop on the way?
Well, I believe when I reviewed the transcript that I did probably make, because in an interview I could have got gas on the way too, according to the transcript. I don't recall just thinking about it, but after I went over that, I probably did get gas on the way.
Okay, so you don't recall specifically, but you may have gotten gas.
Yeah, again, I would have remembered 3.5 years ago when I had the interview versus now.
Okay. But other than that, you went straight to work?
Yes.
And how long were you there that day?
Well, I left a little early because of events that happened that day. So probably early to mid-afternoon, I ended up leaving, I believe.
Okay. But from what time would you get, if you left your house at 6, what time would you get to your work?
At least 45 minutes to get there or so.
So a little before 7?
Yeah, I'd get there, I try to get there at 7 or so.
Okay, so at least around 7 to mid-afternoon you were there?
Yes.
That day?
Yes, I believe.
Before you left for work, did you see Brandon awake?
No.
Did you see him at all that morning?
No.
When you were first at work, did anything out of the ordinary occur while you were working before your first break?
Before my first break, no.
How about at your first break?
Well, normally, like I said, I tried calling him to see, get an update, see how he was doing.
And when you say him?
I'm talking about Louis.
Okay.
Yeah, he was working in the house.
He was working at the house?
Yes.
Okay. So did you try calling him that day?
Yes.
What time was that?
It had to be around my normal time, 9:30.
And again, that was a pretty typical time for you?
If I called him, yes. That would be my time I check in.
Did Luis answer your call on October 1st, 2019?
No, he didn't.
How did that seem to you?
Well, majority of the times he did answer, so I thought it kind of odd that he didn't answer, and I believe I knew he was supposed to be there, so.
Did you continue trying to call Luis?
I think I tried calling him at least a couple times after that.
Did you meet with investigators on October 1st, 2019?
Yes.
Did you share with them and allow them to take photos of information on your cell phone at that time?
Yes.
Specifically, did you let them take pictures of your call log from that day?
Yes.
May I approach? Excuse me. Force a habit.
The defendant's family is sitting behind the prosecution in this trial. Got more updates from our in-court spectator as well. Let's see if we can read those here during the break here, if it's quiet.
I understand defense is not objecting. State remove 62, 63, and 64 in as follows.
Okay, they're admitted.
I'll go through them in a little more detail in a minute, but in general, I'm showing you states 62, 63, and 64. Do you recognize what I'm showing you?
Yeah, it looks, it's probably a picture of my phone in the log.
And is that how your phone appeared when you showed it to investigators on October?
I believe so. Yeah, if those are the pictures that were taken, yes.
Okay.
Can I see them before you put them on?
Yes, Judge.
This judge is super curious. Glasses off, he means business. This is the standard size photo for being admitted in this court. They all print in this size, like the legal full color print.
So I'm going to put those photos up on the screen. If you have any difficulty reading them or anything, I can leave the photos with you up at the stand. Okay. Just let me know. Okay. So I'm now showing you state 62. And looking at this photo, again, this was a photo taken that you allowed investigators to take of your call log?
Yes.
Okay. And then starting, well, you tell us, does that call log reflect that you called Luis Garcia that day?
It would, because if I can see it correctly, the first call to him was about 9:30. It says 9:31, so that would be approximately the time I would normally call him.
Okay. And around that same time, did you also call Brandon?
Well, yeah, it looks like I tried calling him afterwards. I guess when I'm just thinking that since Louis didn't answer, I tried to call Brandon.
And you said earlier you kept trying to call Luis. When was the next time you called him based on the call log?
Well, I can see right there. It looks like the next one is 11:42. Looks like 11:42 from here.
Okay. And again, if you're having trouble seeing, just let me know.
Yeah.
Does that call log indicate how many times you tried him at 11:42?
Says 2.
Okay. And now I'm going to show you state 63. If we could zoom in. I believe the last one, so at the bottom is where you called Luis twice at 11:42. Did you again also call Brandon at that same time?
Let me see here. It looks like 11:42, yeah.
Okay. And did you call Luis again after that?
After 11:42, I called him again at 12:14, according to that.
Okay. And how about Brandon?
Again after that, yes.
So after that point, neither Luis or Brandon are answering your calls. Is that right?
That's correct.
What happened after that, or did you speak with anybody else?
Well, yeah, I normally call my daughter Danielle as well during lunchtime, okay. So that was a normal routine. And during that phone call, I did...
Well, hold on. We don't want to get into anything that was said during that phone call.
Oh, okay. Sure.
But
there's our break in the audio. We got a good bit there without a break, so let's see if we can bring it back here. More phone calls to Garcia than his son, yes. It sounds like he has a routine where he calls and checks on people quite a bit.
Did you try Luis one more time?
Well, I see at 12:45 there, so...
So was that the last time you tried calling Luis Garcia?
I believe so. Unless you have another call after that. I don't think it was anything after that.
That's the last photo.
Okay.
Do you know what happened after you spoke with Danielle at 12:27?
In regards to what?
Did she contact anybody?
During my conversation with Danielle, I did mention that, for some reason, that Louis didn't answer. And so I think she took it from there and called Fran, which is Fran's grandmother. And I think from there, Fran, from what I heard, called Patty to ask about, if she had heard from Louis. I'm just assuming.
Okay. Just back up one moment. So between 9:30 when you started trying to call Luis and then this last call at 12:45, did either Luis or Brandon ever answer one of your calls?
No, as I indicated earlier, I don't believe they did.
Did you stay in touch with Danielle or Francis after you let them know that Luis wasn't answering?
I think we probably had an exchange because I learned that they were trying to communicate with Louis at that time through the means I already mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Did they go to you? I'm sorry.
More pauses. I don't know why they're calling so much. This does seem, something seems off already. Like he says there was an event that happened this morning. What event? Why did he leave early? Why was he, why?
Again, I'm trying to recall here, but I think that would be the only way they'd be able to get in the house, I'm thinking.
Had you informed anyone else about that key under the mat?
Not that I can recall, no.
Did Danielle call at all asking if there was a way to get into the house?
She might have, yes. It could have been part of the conversation.
After they were able to eventually get inside the house, did you eventually hear from someone something that may have occurred that made you leave your work?
Yeah, I think that when Fran and Danielle finally did enter the house, they discovered something that, because of the event that occurred, that, shocked them, sort of.
And did they relay that to you?
Yeah, I think it was Danielle that called me and said I should, come home, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure.
So is that what you did then?
Oh, I left work right away and headed home.
Okay.
Borderline hearsay.
Have one moment, Your Honor.
Let's see. They're skirting around it. They're playing fairly. I think I'm going to upgrade the WD-40 emoji just because of the sheer amount of WD-40 they need. So I'm going to make a slight correction here. Give me just 1 second. So use the can while you can.
I have no further questions for you, Mr. Castiglione.
Serious?
Defense counsel,
okay.
How can you have no questions for the dad? The homeowner. Why are we... I feel like we're being kept in the dark intentionally.
Hi.
How are you doing this afternoon?
Fine.
So you talked a little on direct about speaking with police back in 2019, right?
What do you mean? I'm not sure.
So on October 1st, 2019, you spoke to the police a couple times.
Oh, yes, during the interview you're referring to?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay.
Sorry, yes. And one of the times you spoke with them was very briefly after you got back to the house. Is that right?
I believe when I got there, I wasn't able to approach the house initially. It was blocked off because of the situation. Eventually, I was able to make it towards the front, and there could have been a conversation at that time. I don't recall exactly.
You don't remember if you spoke with the police at
I could
your
have,
house?
yeah, because obviously, it was my house, and I'm sure they allowed me to go down there, and I talked to at least one or more police.
Okay. So for just right now, I'm going to ask you questions, and if you remember, I think it's fair to answer. If you don't remember, can you indicate that you don't answer, and then or that you don't remember, and then we'll go from there?
Okay.
Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. Do you remember speaking with the police later on at the police station?
Oh, yes, there was an interview.
Okay. And they asked you to go down there and speak with them, right?
Yes.
And you went down because you wanted to help in any way you could?
Of course, I wanted to cooperate.
Okay. And they asked you questions, right?
Yes.
And you answered them the best you could?
Yes.
It's close in time to when this happened?
Yes, I believe so.
It was a couple hours later?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to backtrack a little bit. You started a bit ago talking about Brandon's involvement with the church. And I just want to sort of get a little more specifics about that. So I'm going to ask you specific questions, okay?
Sure.
Okay. You testified that both of you were involved in church.
Correct.
And that both of you were typically at the church on a normal week 5 or 6 times a week.
It could have been at least a few times a week, yes.
Well, when you say a few times, I'm asking 5 or 6 times a week.
Okay, let me go over it. So I think Mondays was typical. We had prayer, and Tuesday, I believe we had the Tuesday Bible study in the evenings too, and Wednesday another prayer. But this is max. We're talking about Thursday. We did over, before the event, over the Garcias on Thursdays generally, and then the next one typically would be Sunday, typically. But that doesn't mean that we didn't have other events mixed in here and there.
One of the things you talked about was men's group on Saturdays,
yes.
Right? Okay. And you would do most of these events all within the friend group?
Excuse me?
You would do these events within your friend group?
No, this would be expanded to other members of the church.
Okay. And was the friend group there also?
Some were. There was, usually, Jeff Castana would be there, I would be there, Brandon would be there. That would be the extent of, the group the core group we met on Thursday, I believe.
How about Mike and Doreen?
Mike and Doreen I don't recall them typically being there at that time. Doreen wouldn't be there anyway, it's a men's group. But Mike, I don't believe that Mike attended that.
Okay. So, on direct, the state asked you about disagreements that Brandon and Garcia would have. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to ask you, you testified a little bit when we're talking about disagreements and who would have them. And just to clarify, when you say disagreements, you're talking about what passages in a Bible means. Am I understanding that right?
Yes.
Okay, so when we're talking about disagreements, people aren't, fighting. They're disagreeing about what passages mean.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And it wasn't just Brandon and Garcia, right?
Oh no, everyone got involved usually with their own, take on what it meant to them.
And I think that somebody you mentioned specifically back in 2019 when you spoke with the police was Mike. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Mike was he was a little combative when it came to that, so yeah.
Okay. So disagreements involved everybody.
Oh, sure.
Maybe not even the right word choice to call it a disagreement.
Sounds like this church fought a lot. It's like Thursday night was fight night. Is that what you're getting from this?
So, and I'm going to be jumping around just a little bit, so if I'm not clear where I'm talking about, please just ask me.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about the work that Garcia was doing in your house. Okay. You testified a little bit that he wasn't there every day.
No, I don't believe he was there every day during the week.
How would you, was there a set schedule? How would you know when he would be there?
Usually we communicated.
Okay.
If he was saying he wasn't going to be there, then he wasn't there. If he says he was going to be there, then he would typically show up.
And do you know what his hours would be, or would he just leave whenever he wanted to leave?
Well, on the most part, it really did depend on the schedule. Sometimes he had to deviate somewhat. But typically, if he wanted to get an early start, he would get there around 8 or 9 in the morning, I think. That was his usual early start.
Okay. Not sure about when he would go, though?
It would depend. Sometimes on his schedule, he might, I'm not sure it would be a complete full day. So it wasn't a consistent schedule, I'll put it that way.
Okay, and I'll just try to sort of narrow time down a little bit more. Was he ever still there when you got home from work?
Most of the time, no.
You talked on direct about Brandon and Garcia being friends, right? Sorry,
Yes.
you have to answer out loud.
Oh, I'm sorry, what was the...
I said you talked a little bit on direct about Brandon and Garcia being friends.
They were friends, yes.
And they did things together within the church?
Within the church and outside the church and
outside the church?
Yes.
And would those typically be when Garcia was painting, or was this a relationship that went even before the painting?
Yeah, I'm sure there was occasions, like I said earlier, that they went out shooting not too long before that event, and also I know they probably went out to coffee or something like that. I know they did a couple things at least prior to that.
Okay. You were asked some questions about whether Garcia had people over when he would be painting.
Okay.
And I just want to ask you, do you know if he had people over when he was painting?
Not that I know.
Okay. Do you know if anyone came over to help him?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Do you know if anyone ever came to see him there?
I can't say for sure. I'm like I say, I'm not there. I can just say that not that I'm aware of.
Okay. You talked about having the key under the mat, and I just want to clarify. Was the key always under the mat, or was it under the mat for Garcia?
That's where I put it, for the situation with him painting, so he could easily find it. Yes.
Okay. So on other occasions, it would not be under the mat?
No, not typically, no.
Talked a little bit about you calling Brandon on his phone, and I just want to clarify that a little more too. Was Brandon someone who was always on his phone, looking at his phone to see what was going on?
I'm sure he was on his phone. I didn't really pay too much attention to it, but I'm sure he was.
Okay, but it's not something that you noticed that he was always looking at his phone?
No.
Okay. And you've testified that at least some of the time, maybe a lot of the time, he didn't answer your phone calls?
Yes.
So that wasn't unusual?
No.
Okay. Talk to you a little bit about Brandon when he's praying. You've had the opportunity to see Brandon when he's in deep prayer, is that right?
Yes, I believe I have.
Okay. And he does it for quite some time sometimes.
Yeah, I agree.
And this is something that people at the church will also do. You've seen that?
Yes.
Okay. It was part of the services, right?
Well, most of the time when that occurred would be on prayer nights where that would be dedicated just for that. Yeah, of course, during the services people prayed, but it wasn't to the extent that normally you would, for a long length of time because there's a service involved.
Okay. But there were nights where people would partake in that. It's not just something that Brandon did, right?
Right.
Okay. You testified a little bit about the file cabinet in Brandon's room, and that you saw a case, locked case in Brandon's room. Do you remember that testimony?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm showing you State's Exhibit 30. And you were reviewing this earlier, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see what this is up in the corner here?
Looks like a key to me.
Okay. And then with the drawer open, and this is State's Exhibit 34, I'm showing you the case that says, is it OCK? I know it's upside down, I'm sorry.
Yeah, lock. I think
it says lock. Okay, so that's an L.
I guess that looks like it.
Okay. So, when you said you'd seen this in the filing cabinet?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you ever see it open?
I don't recall seeing it open.
Okay. Do you know if it was? I think what you testified to is that you don't know if the gun was in there.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. You can't tell.
No. I mean, it's shot at least specifically in this picture.
Right.
So you don't really know where Brandon's gun was on October 1st. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that is fair.
But you testified that he and Garcia had been shooting sometime in the...
Prior to that, I believe they went out and they did that together.
When you say prior to that, are we talking a couple days? Are we talking a couple months?
I can't say for sure.
Okay. Would it help you to review the transcript? Would that refresh your recollection?
It might, but the transcript might have indicated that it was. What exactly did it say?
Well, I'm going to ask if it'll refresh your recollection.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
He has to say it was going to help his recollection, or she can't show it.
I'm just going to ask for one moment, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so this is crazy. Dad just glanced at his son and immediately looked away. Just glanced up and immediately looked down. Interesting vibe. Wow. It sounds like the whole family was very religious. They said what Monday was prayer night, Tuesday was Bible study, Wednesday was prayer night, Thursday was dinner with Garcias, then possibly a men's group on Saturday, and then Sunday was service. So a lot of their life involved church, and it sounded like some of the meetings got a little bit heated as people were interpreting Scripture differently. This is the closest we've had to a motive yet, is that they interpreted Scripture differently, and it ended up in a live free or die ultimatum, and they chose the second. I do apologize if I missed some of your questions in chat. I'm not intentionally doing that.
It may not be as specific as I was hoping, but I'll have you have a look and let me know if that refreshes your recollection.
My glasses.
What page,
Page, so it's page 34 of the transcript, 553 of the date stamp.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so, can I just see this for 1 second to make sure I didn't change the page? Okay. You can read whatever you want, but what I'm going to direct you to is 19.
Okay. You just need to go out for matter of fact, not too long. Yeah, not too long.
Okay.
I didn't know for sure.
Any narrowing of what not too long would mean?
I'm guessing, if I remember, it was quite a while ago, but it might have been a week or two. I'm just guessing, like I said.
That's fair, and thank you for telling me that.
Yeah.
Nothing gets in the way of taco night. Taco Tuesday, man. Should be a national holiday. So I guess we need to look at the calendar. If we go back to 2019, October 1st, what day was that? Do we have any savants who can do this off the top of your head?
Thank you.
No further questions.
No, thank you, Josh.
Sir, you may step down. Okay, thank you very much.
It's like they're sweeping this under the rug.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, please.
And he's excused. He's gone. He may still have a pending, he may still have an active restraint order against him that prevents him from being in the same room as Mrs. Garcia. This is crazy. Gretchen, don't normally use those words, but seriously. Another comment. Always lurk, but what the heck? I know. We have, there are glaring questions that all of us can see. And we're not experts, but all of us have these questions. It's like, obviously, this is the next thing you should ask.
And remain standing.
But no. It was a Tuesday. Tuesday was Bible study.
You swear the testimony you'll give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Okay, have a seat.
How painful is perjury?
And if you could start just
Asking
by
for a
stating
friend.
your full name and spell your last for the record.
Sure. Robert Mercier, Mercier.
And where do you live?
I live at 9 Ridgemont.
9 Ridgemont.
9 Ridgemont Drive in Londonderry.
Okay. And that's Londonderry, New Hampshire?
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone else live with you there?
Yes, my wife, my kids.
How long have you lived there?
About 5 or 6 years.
Were you living there in October of 2019?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the address 15 Ridgemont Drive?
Yes.
How are you familiar with it?
I walk past it when I'm walking my dog sometimes.
About how many houses down from yours is it?
3.
Do you know the family that lives there or used to live there?
I don't.
Would you be familiar with their faces? Have you seen them out on the street?
Yeah, I mean, I see them in passing occasionally. Honestly, that's about it.
You don't interact with them on a social level or anything?
No, honestly, I don't really see anyone often enough that lives there to to really even be, passingly cordial or anything.
At the time, I mean, did you know, would you recognize someone's face who lived at that residence?
I might, yeah.
Were you employed in October 2019?
Yes.
What were you doing?
I was a software developer.
Okay. Did you travel to an office or did you work from home?
At that time, I was working from home probably 2 or 3 days a week.
What was your work schedule like at the time?
It varied from day to day. Some days it was meeting heavy. Other days I was actually able to get work done.
Okay. I want to draw your attention to October 1st of 2019. You recall that day?
I do.
Okay. Were you living at 9 Ridgemont Drive?
Yes.
And do you recall how you started your day?
I recall earlier in the day was one of those meeting heavy days, like back-to-back Zoom meetings.
Were you working at home that day?
Yes.
Okay. So you were in your home on Zoom meetings?
Yep.
All right. I think maybe by this point most people are familiar, but can you tell us about that?
Sure. I had my earbuds in and just basically on a video call with multiple people. I don't recall the exact meetings, what they were about, but
sure. How long did those meetings go on?
It was back to back to back, so it was like early morning, like 9:30 a.m. until late morning, early afternoon.
Okay. So early afternoon then. When you finished up those meetings, what did you do?
I needed to go outside. I was all done sitting in front of a computer for a while, so I took my dog for a walk.
Okay. Now, I know you said early afternoon. Do you happen to recall an exact, more specific time, or is that as best as you can remember?
Yeah, honestly, I really don't. That's honestly best guess would be like early afternoon.
Did you pass 15 Ridgemont Drive on your walk?
Yes.
Did you see anything out of the ordinary at that time?
I heard something out of the ordinary.
What was that?
There were 2 women at the house, one in the driveway, one on the doorstep or around the door or whatever, and they were yelling back and forth to each other.
Okay. Could you understand what they were yelling?
At first, no, but as I got closer and was at sort of the bottom of the driveway, I could understand it.
Okay. What were they yelling about?
There was a lot of back and forth of he's down, Garcia's down, he's not breathing, there's blood everywhere. What about Brandon? Is Brandon okay? Brandon's just sitting there, but he's okay. They mentioned something about they were supposed to be painting today.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did they appear to you? What were their emotions like?
Well, they pretty much matched what they were saying. There was a little bit of concern. Obviously someone had been hurt, and so their demeanor, their actions were sort of matching that.
Okay. So did they appear upset to you?
Yeah.
Were either of them on the phone at the time?
One of them was on the phone sometime after that. I don't know if they were on the phone immediately at that time.
What did you do when you saw this situation?
I started walking up the driveway to ask if they needed any help.
Okay. Did you make any offer in particular?
I did. I said, does someone inside need help? And they said, no, we're okay. And I said, well, if someone's not breathing, I'm CPR certified, like a recent certification. So, if you're going to, if you're calling 911, I can go in and at least get them started. And they said, again, no, everything's okay.
All right. So they didn't accept your offer to help then?
Nope.
What'd you do after that?
I tried to walk back down the driveway. My dog's about a 65-pound, big, fluffy piece of stubborn. So I couldn't quite actually pull her down the driveway with me, so we ended up standing there for another couple of minutes.
Okay. Did you see anything else while you were standing there at 15 Ridgemont Drive?
No.
Did you have any other involvement with those women or anything that had happened at that residence?
Nope.
One moment, Judge.
So I was thinking he would have heard the gunshot, but no.
Did you see police arrive or anything to that residence?
After, yes.
Okay, when was that?
Well, when I got the dog down the driveway, we went down to the end of the cul-de-sac, came back around, and at that time I started to see police arriving, fire trucks were arriving.
Was it a large response?
It was a huge response.
Okay. Did you note anything else while you were watching that house?
No. That was about it.
I don't have any other questions for you, but I think defense counsel might.
Okay.
Not sure what they'd have for him. It's wild.
You indicated that morning was one of your meeting-heavy mornings?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I just have to have you answer yes or no.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Not trying to be difficult, we're just taking a record of everything
Sure.
you said. And so you were on your computer screen?
Correct.
You had your earbuds in?
Correct.
You were communicating with people in these meetings?
Yes.
Paying attention to the meetings?
Correct.
And that's what you were doing, you said, for hours on end, essentially?
Yeah. 2, 3, 4 hours. Yeah.
Okay. So you weren't looking at the house at number 15 all morning?
Oh, no, I can't see them from my house.
Okay, so you can't see number 15 from your house at all?
Nope.
So that entire morning you never saw number 15?
Correct, until I was walking past.
Sure.
Yep.
Until the afternoon when you were walking your dog?
Yep.
So that morning you didn't see if anyone came to the house?
No.
You didn't see if anyone left the house?
Nope.
And when you walked up the driveway,
Mm-hmm.
there would have been 3 cars in the driveway at that point? Does that sound right?
It was either 2 or 3.
Okay. You had not seen any of those cars arrive that day?
No. To be fair, I wasn't looking out the window at all, so.
Sure. You weren't looking out the window at all?
No.
So you don't know if any other cars arrived that day?
I do not.
Or left that day?
No.
Or who was in any of those cars?
No.
May I have one moment?
We're flying through this trial. We might have a verdict by tomorrow. I don't know.
No further questions?
Nothing from the state.
All right, sir, you may step down. Thank you very much.
Sure.
There comes the squeak squeak. We do have a gallon of WD-40 on standby for this trial.
Have a quick one here, Your Honor, just to get some exhibits ready.
It's funny when they say we've got a very lengthy... Wow, that squeak is so bad. We have a very lengthy witness. They mean like 20 minutes. Yes, you guys asked. I did give you the link for the cash cow. If you need a cash cow like mine, which has been utterly abused.
While we're doing that, if you want to stand and take a stretch, you're good idea. Another order.
It's been an hour, means we get a break in half an hour. We get a break after about an hour and a half of this court. We're keeping an eye on Vallow. I believe the defense is offering their closing right now. Are we being punked? This is like an episode of Jurors on the Amazon Freevee, whatever, where there's one guy who doesn't know that it's all fake. We're the people that don't know this is just a big circus.
Just as a housekeeping matter, the next witness will be using states exhibits 89 through 93. So I'm saying there's no objection on the defense. So we can just take a quick minute now.
Might have a medical examiner.
What are they? Is there any writing on them?
No.
Okay.
No. Go ahead.
That's all I checked for is
no writing.
Exhibits with writing on them.
No.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So 89 and 93 are admitted by agreement? Okay.
These are the pictures of the defendant, I believe,
witnesses.
when he was taken
This
into
one, Your Honor,
custody.
the state will call Sergeant Stephen McCauley to the stand, please.
Okay, if one of my mods could get a link for Stephen McCauley so I can pin that. Sergeant Stephen McCauley.
Right up there. That's what we need.
He's going to swear you in, so just remain standing.
Sergeant McCauley, if you please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony you will give this jury will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do. Thank you. Please feel free to have a seat. Sergeant McCauley, can you hear me okay from where I am?
I can.
Okay. If for some reason you can't hear me at any time, please let me know and I'll be glad to speak up, all right?
Okay.
Since we're on the record, could you please state your first and last name and spell both of them?
Yep. Stephen McCauley, STEPHEN MCAULAY.
And where are you currently employed, sir?
With the New Hampshire State Police.
How long have you been working with them?
November 2nd, 2012.
November 2nd, 2012. All right, so a little over 10 years now.
Yes.
Were you employed by any other law enforcement agency before that?
I was. I started my career with the town of Newfields, New Hampshire Police Department in 2004. I then became full-time in Newfields, New Hampshire in 2006. And then I worked for the town of Stratham, New Hampshire from 2010 to 2012.
2012. Okay, so right now, are you a full-time New Hampshire State Police trooper?
I am.
And what's your current rank?
Sergeant.
And what unit are you assigned to within the New Hampshire State Police?
The Major Crime Unit.
What sort of education experiences have you had in education besides just regular police work and training to be a police officer?
With the Major Crime Unit, we have the opportunity, I guess, to go to multiple different homicide schools, to the IHIA, which is the International Homicide Investigation Association, as well as various crime scene schools, and then on-the-job training.
Are you a certified full-time officer?
I am.
And did you attend the New Hampshire State Police Academy?
I did. I attended the 142nd New Hampshire Police Academy.
What about any sort of education for yourself? Go to college, any sort of degrees?
I do. I have an associate's in criminal justice, a bachelor's in business administration, and a master's in business administration.
Okay. And the master's in business administration, when did you get that?
2013, I believe.
2013. All right. How long have you been within the Major Crime Unit inside the New Hampshire State Police?
Since 2016.
I'd like to ask you about your involvement into the death of Luis Garcia and your response to it on October 1st of 2019. Are you familiar with that investigation?
I am.
Okay. And were you one of the troopers that was dispatched to Londonderry Police to help out with the investigation?
I was.
Do you recall what time you arrived?
I do not. It was sometime in the maybe early evening or late afternoon.
I apologize. I should have clarified. Do you recall whether you arrived on that day, October 1st, 2019, or not until the following day, October 2nd?
It was on October 1st,
okay.
2019.
And at some point, were you asked to carry out a search warrant that had been signed to search the body of Brandon Castiglione?
I was.
And for the jury's benefit,
How do you go about performing a search warrant when you get one authorized by the court to search somebody's person?
Well, first, we look at the warrant and see what the warrant authorizes us to take, because I can have different variables. And then we go into a somewhat of a private setting, wherever the best we can get. And I start with, the way I do it anyways, I start with photographs documenting the person's body 360 degrees with multiple photographs. And then we take layers depending on the clothing that the person's wearing. We'll start with one, like say if they're wearing a jacket, we'll start with the jacket, we'll take that off first, then we'll do 360 degree photos, and so on and so on and so on until we basically photograph the entire body.
In doing that and being handed that search warrant, is that a search warrant that you applied for or somebody else did?
Somebody else would have applied for it.
And did you meet somebody that was presented to you as the person listed in that search warrant, Brandon Castiglione?
I did.
Did you introduce yourself to him and tell him about the search warrant before you executed it?
I did.
And do you see that person sitting in the courtroom here today?
I do.
Okay. Could you please point out where he's seated and the article of clothing that he's wearing?
He's seated over here and he's wearing a light collared shirt.
And could you also just please indicate light collared shirt, an individual in their order of where that person is seating, if they're on the end, if they're in the middle?
The third seat from the right.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time we ask that the record would reflect that the witness has identified the defendant as Mr. Brandon Castiglione.
He said third seat from the right. So third seat on the right.
For this particular search, Sergeant, where and how did you complete the search of the defendant?
I believe it was at the Londonderry Police Department. We had moved to a room. I believe it was in the booking room, if I remember correctly. And we started with the photographs.
Okay. And photographs, and you're talking about doing it in that same way that you described for us, kind of going from outer layer and working our way in?
Correct. We document the outer layer first, take one layer of clothing off, then document that layer, take another layer off, document that layer, take another layer off, and document that layer.
And what about fingerprints? For this particular search, did you take the defendant's fingerprints as well?
We would have taken the fingerprints last, as they're extremely messy, unfortunately, due to the ink that we use. So we would take fingerprints last.
And before that, would you have taken any sort of sample swabs as part of this particular search warrant?
Yes, we would take, so on this particular search warrant, we're authorized to take DNA, which would be buccal swabs in the interior of the mouth, as well as gunshot residue swabs. Or two different swabs that we were taking there.
You said a moment ago that the buccal swabs would be taken from inside the mouth.
Correct.
Where would the gunshot residue swabs be taken?
We would take that from the hands, the wrist area, the interior of the hand, the webbing, that sort of thing, your complete hand area.
Okay. Any other parts of the body where those gunshot residue swabs are taken from, or no, it's just focused on the hand?
It was focused on the hands, the wrist area.
Now, before you go ahead and take these different swabs that we're talking about, the buccal swabs and then swabs of the hands, do you know whether or not, for example, the defendant has brushed his teeth or drunk anything before you took the buccal swabs?
I do not.
Okay. Do you know whether or not he washed his hands prior to you taking the residue swabs of his hands?
No. And can we go back to that question just prior to that one?
Yes, please go ahead. I want to make sure.
Just where I think you asked if he drank anything, and I was aware because I did give him something to drink at one point, so he did drink something at some point that I was with him.
Between do you know what the time was with regards to the 911 response on this particular case when Londonderry showed up at the defendant's house?
I believe it was in the early afternoon.
Okay. So between that early afternoon and when you interacted with the defendant, do you know whether or not he had washed his hands in that time period?
I don't.
Do you know whether or not he had drunk anything else other than the one drink that you had given?
I don't.
Do you know if he had changed his clothing at all between the 911 call and when you saw him?
I do not know.
Okay. And do you know if he had done any of those things in the hours before that, before 911 was called?
I do not.
When you did the search of his clothing and you started taking photographs, where were you in the Londonderry Police Department to do that?
I believe we're in the booking room.
Okay. And After you get done doing different swabs or taking those different photographs, what do you do to preserve that information?
Well, we package it all in, most of the body warrants, they're packaged in paper bags or paper envelopes. Once those items are packaged, we then transfer them to our, we call it, it's a major crime truck. So that's where we warehouse all the stuff during an individual case. That truck would have been at the scene, and all that stuff would have been transferred to, it's called State Police 953 is the plate.
State Police 953, that you said that's the plate. Well, what do you mean by the plate?
That's the license plate of the specific truck that we were utilizing.
So that's where that evidence gets logged in?
Correct.
And then how does it make it to the lab after that?
Then whoever's in charge of it, which in this case it was Trooper Jay O'Leary, would bring it to transport to the lab and actually submit it to the lab.
What about the photographs? What happens to the photographs after you take them?
The photographs are burned onto a compact disc and then given to the lead, as well as archived with the State Police photographer.
We're waiting. We're waiting. I do have a couple more updates from the court. Our spectator has to leave because he's got work, or she has to leave. He, she, I don't know. I have to leave. I think he told me. I think it's a he. Male. There we go. He has to leave. But I do have some more updates as far as the court goes. Let's see. The jury started getting restless around 11 a.m. They re-engaged when His Honor got his laugh, and Rachel stepped down to show the photo at 11:22. They stayed engaged for 20 minutes and started getting restless again. Side note, the defendant has a set of old scars on the back of his head that look like a human bite mark. I think the jury has hit the wall on the expert witnesses, especially the foundational stuff. You referenced some things that Emily D. Baker had said about when a juror is leaning back so far that their head touches the wall, it's not a great sign. And one of the jurors
Did you take close-in photos?
The only other item of note is that one of the older male jurors is sitting furthest away from the video screen and visibly squinting at the demonstrative, the images. Can't see the displays. Let's see. They paid very close attention to Mark while he was on the stand, and it looks like he came across as being very, very honest. Let's see. Let's see, I think that's it. And he's going to try to come back for the defense's case so we can get some more. So, interesting. Mostly women? What's the makeup? Let's see. We have, I think he said 14 jurors, 4 male. So we're getting some pictures here. Not seeing any wounds of the hands. This is. I don't think we're going to see anything here. I think this is going to be a routine type thing. I'm not seeing bloody clothes or anything. Dusty Den says, just wanted to say thanks for saying something when they pause. I'm having trouble with my AirPods, and it saves me a lot of frustration when you do that. I'll try to fill in the gaps a little bit. The scar is an old scar, I guess. I don't know. It could have been from years ago. Could have been from childhood. Somebody has tripped over the cord. We're waiting for them to plug it back in. No paint. I don't think.
Which is a reddish blood stain on.
Oh, we need this blood stain. We need to know where the blood stain is. At least the jury's getting to hear this, and I'm not sure this answers any of our questions, but.
Did you see anything like?
Come on, it's getting better slowly. All the feeds are having major issues.
Yeah.
We got that
back, and it was one of the.
Man, let's see if I can bring in another feed here that might be a little further delayed.
You at that time to be blood that was on him or an injury that he had. Originally started in Newfields and part-time doing in 2004. Is that right?
Correct.
Spoken with or interacted.
It's almost getting better, but it's still awful. At this point, I'm going to start making up some of the evidence. I would be mouthing the words if it was silent, and I'm just doing some bad lip reading, but it's the
And trainings after that. Have you been trained about alcohol or, again, some okay. During your
Man, this pool feed is a nightmare. We're possibly, if they can get this cleared up, the defense on cross will probably cover some of the main points of what we've covered here, as they try to cast some doubt onto the bits of evidence that are most harmful to Brandon. So hopefully they get this squared away here shortly. All right, try to make the same faces they make when it pauses. That's a long face to make. Let me see if I can bring up another feed here. That's hold tight. This is an older audio.
One of the spots was scratched, I guess, and caused it to bleed.
Okay. But other than that, did you see anything else that appeared to you at that time to be blood that was on him or an injury that he had suffered?
I did not.
During your career, you said you originally started in Newfields and part-time doing in 2004. Is that right?
Correct.
During your career, have you spoken with or interacted with people that you later learned to be intoxicated or under the influence of drugs?
Give me a second. I have this matched up.
When you were on patrol, how often would that occur?
When I was on the road, approximately maybe 2 to 4 times a month.
And as part of your training, both at the police academy and trainings after that, have you been trained about trying to recognize the signs of somebody being impaired due to alcohol or, again, some drugs or some other influence?
I have.
Okay. During your interactions with the defendant on October 1st and October 2nd of 2019, did you see any of those signs of impairment when you were speaking with him or interacting with him?
I did not.
I could just have a brief moment, please, Your Honor.
Yes, you may.
Okay, so this feed's a little bit better. We're going to hold it for just a bit. Very vibrant colors on this one. Contrast is turned way too high. Look at that yellow. It's almost jumping off the screen.
Oh, I forgot. Sergeant, I just have one other question for you. You carry a firearm with you, usually on your hip, right? A sidearm?
I do.
Okay. And that particular pistol, how many bullets do you carry in the gun?
In my handgun that I carry every day is 11.
11. How many does the magazine hold?
10.
Okay. So how does the 11th one get in there?
After we chamber one round into the gun itself, so it's in the barrel, if you will, we top off the magazine with one more round.
Thank you very much. I don't have any further questions for you. I believe defense counsel may have a few.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So you
Well, not too big
testified
here.
that
Chocolate milk.
back a couple years
It's
ago,
chocolate milk.
you worked at a local police department, is that right?
Correct.
Newfields Police Department, I think you said,
To Newfields and Stratham.
and Stratham. During your time as a police officer there, did you do routine traffic duty,
Yes.
pulling cars over?
Yes.
And during that time, you would pull cars over for people driving without a license, is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I want to talk about October 1st, early hours of October 2nd. It sounds like you got there mid-afternoon. I mean, early evening on the 1st.
It was, yeah, somewhere around there. I don't remember exactly what time it was, but it was definitely sometime in the early evening time frame.
Okay. And was your sole assignment at that time to do the body warrant on Brandon?
It was not.
Okay. The body warrant happened at about 1:20 in the morning, is that right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And is your understanding that Brandon was taken from the scene earlier in the afternoon before you'd even gotten there?
Yes.
Okay. So you were asked some questions about sort of knowing what Brandon was doing during the hours that he was in the police station, whether he was washing his hands or putting things in his mouth. There were police officers at the police station when you were there, right?
Yes.
And even before you got there, watching Brandon, right?
Yes.
They had monitors to see what he was doing, right?
Yes, I would assume so.
Okay. And he wasn't free to just walk out and use the bathroom when he would want to, so they would know if he washed his hands, right?
Yeah, he was not free just to go walk around the police department, absolutely.
Okay. I want to talk to you about the actual, we talked about sort of delayering his clothing.
Correct.
And as you're doing that, the reason that you're doing that is to try to preserve any evidence that may be on his clothing, is that right?
To document it, correct, yep.
Okay. Not to return to him later. It's for you to take to give to the state lab, right?
Correct.
Because it may have evidentiary value, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And so you did that. You took each layer of clothing off and you photographed as you were doing each layer, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. I have some pictures that I would like to show you also, and I will say there are a good number of them, so bear with me, okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a approach on this, please.
The state does not want these pictures brought in. That's interesting. Normally, the state does not object to photos, especially if they were taken in the evidence process. Let's see if we can catch up with our other feed. Just 1 second. We did catch up here.
Attorney Ashworth, if you want to just do it while there's up here, or do you want to step down, however you guys want to do it. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to do it.
I don't know what they're doing, but they're going to do it in the courtroom, wherever the judge says they want to. So this is current. We're going to jump back in time and see they're still doing the sidebar discussion. I'm not sure what they're doing here. So we'll hear if we're going to go back in time, then we're going to try to take that first feed. It looks like they're getting a 15-minute break in real time.
Okay, why don't we do this? Why don't we take just a little longer? Get your witness, and that's what we did. I can break this review. Just listen to what you're recording. We'll do that. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to stand in recess for 15 minutes for the afternoon break. We'll resume back here in a little more than 15 minutes. During the break, Sergeant, during the break, she's going to review some photos with you, okay?
Good, thank you.
Okay, all right. Do not discuss the case amongst yourselves. Do not do any independent research in the next 15 minutes or so. All rise for the jury.
It sounds like during the break, the defense is going to review some photos with a sergeant. The state had objected on something. I don't know why. They approached. We didn't hear what the objection was. So we're now in break right now. We're going to turn off the noise. So we're in break. We've got about 13 minutes left of the break. Which one do you like? Do you like the red face? Do you like the? Yeah, my cow is taking a beating here this afternoon. It's just, I'm just pleased it doesn't. At one point I'm sure this thing will rupture. It will say I can take no more. I'm going to be mid squeeze and cow goo is going to squirt out all over all my devices. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. But vote no on the lobster people, says DMB. I want to be able to hear. Red face doesn't get locked up. That's a benefit. Red face is pool source, but they do an awful job on the color of the video. It's painful on my eyes, and I can't change it. I could, but it costs several $1,000s of equipment I don't have. I'm going to need a new cash cow. This one's still going strong. It's ground beef. Okay, so the state has not put the photos into evidence, like the bad video but better audio. I could sync them up. I could do that. I could give us the good audio and the good video, but I'll have to pause one for about 2 minutes. Because it's about a minute and 20-second delay between the two. Did they find GSR on Brandon? I believe they swabbed him for GSR. I'm not sure if they ran the tests. So they collected it but didn't run it. That's my understanding right now. Red audio and freeze up video. Yeah, we could do that. But oh man, that might get tricky with it freezing and unfreezing. It might be hard to sync up. On second thought, I take back my offer. I'm surprised your cow still has legs. These cows are durable. Just amazing. I'm loving this one. And my stress level has dropped significantly since I got my cash cow. Thank you very much for that. Will the cash cow explode milk or manure? Probably a mixture of both. I'm hoping milk. It has an udder. Maintain that you need an emotional support, Zebra. Reverend Beezy, we'll need to know where to find one of those. Okay, so Shelley, they don't seem to care much about evidence. This is the craziest case. First of all, witnesses are being dismissed left, right, and center. Everybody, as soon as they're done talking, they get half the questions they should be asked, and those are the wrong ones. And then they dismiss them, and they release them from the subpoena, and they're off, to sit in court and can listen to the rest of it. And every single person is just being dismissed. Lots of key evidence. You'd think the swabs from the gunshot, or the swabs of the gun from DNA, that might be important. The actual fingerprint slides, like the way we got the fingerprints, that's not admitted as evidence. Isn't that important to the chain? Not admitted, and they're fine with that. The gun will not be going back to the jury room, apparently, because they have not admitted all the items, or sought to admit all the items that are in the box with the gun is that piece of evidence. So the jury's not going to be able to analyze that. It seems strange. And you get the feeling, even though it seems very cut and dry, like on the surface, if you look at this on paper, it's like, this makes sense. This seems like it's a whodunit, but there's really one guy in a locked house and one victim in the locked house. One gun, it belongs to the guy who's alive. The one bullet, the pieces seem to fit together. It seems like a child's puzzle. But at the same time, you get this feeling like we're missing something. Something's not right here. And I don't think I'm not trying to blame religion at all for that, but there is a strong religious undertone here and connections between all these people that through their religion that I'm wondering that there's something more to the story. Cash cow will be money. Cash cow milk will be money. If that's the case, I'm going to break it sooner. I don't mind the color as long as we can hear. Okay, we'll watch for that. The cutout parts was critical. Let me go back. Let's see if we can grab that little bit. I have the capability to go back. Where are we at? Okay, Dad. It's on the stands. We're going to watch it a little high speed. Let me play this. I'm going to turn the audio on. Hang on one second here.
Did you also photograph Mr. Castiglione's hands?
I did.
And can we see them a little bit better here? Actually, we'll do this. Did you do both hands, both his right hand and his left hand?
This is previously. Ready? So this is...
And separate from that, what kind of, did you take close-in photos, or was this it, just from this distance?
I believe I did take closer photos than that of his hands.
I want to show you now, at this point, States Exhibit 90 and 92.
It's the part that cut out. So we're going to
Do you
hear...
recognize those? Again, there's photos that you took during this body one.
I do.
And actually, I'll zoom in on both of them. Again, 90 and 92. These are the backs of his right and his left hand, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm not seeing any damage.
And also, I'd like to ask you, separate from this, about exhibits number 91 and 92. 91 being on the left and 92 being on the right. Do you recognize, or what do you recognize those to be photos of?
The inside of his hands, if you will.
Okay. That includes kind of the palm area?
The palms of his hands, yes.
The palm.
I apologize, I meant to say 92 and 93. Excuse me, 91 for the palm of the right hand and 93 for the palm of the left hand here. And let me show you both of those images zoomed in. Exhibit 91 on the left and 93 on the right, as we're looking at them on the screen. And again, those are photographs that you took?
Miss Sari brought me chocolate milk. I drink it.
You did this and the rest of your examination, carrying out that particular body warrant. Did you see any injuries that appeared to you to be recent on the defendant's hands?
I did not.
Did you see any other spot on his body that appeared to have suffered a recent injury?
The only, what I do remember was on his back. There was what we call his RBS, which is a reddish blood stain on his clothing. And after we took the clothing off, it appeared that there was freshly maybe picked acne of some sort on his back.
So some acne, and that's what was the cause of the reddish brown stain on his back?
It appeared, yes.
Okay. Did you see anything like that on the exterior part of his clothing?
Just the back of his exterior, the back of his clothing had the reddish brown stain in those two specific areas.
Did you see, with seeing that area, you said scratched, or I want to make sure I'm using your terms here. What do you think was what was the cause of that?
It appeared that he had, some sort of acne or something on his back, and it was one of the spots was scratched, I guess, and caused it to bleed.
Okay. But other than that, did you see anything else that appeared to you at that time to be blood that was on or an injury that he had suffered?
I did not.
During your career, you said you originally started in Newfields in part-time in 2004, is that right?
Correct.
During your career, have you spoken with or interacted with people that you later learned to be intoxicated or under the influence of drugs?
I have.
When you were on patrol, how often would that occur?
When I was on the road, approximately maybe 2 to 4 times a month.
And as part of your training, both at the police academy and trainings after that, have you been trained about trying to recognize the signs of somebody being impaired due to alcohol or, again, some drugs or some other influence?
I have.
Okay. During your interactions with the defendant on October 1st and October 2nd of 2019, did you see any of those signs of impairment when you were speaking with him or interacting with him?
I did not.
Just have a brief moment, please, Your Honor. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it was a nothing burger. There was basically nothing when they photographed all his layers of clothing and his body that indicated struggle, scratches, blood other than his own.
Sergeant, I just have one other question for you. You carry a firearm with you usually on your hip, right? A sidearm?
We heard this part.
Okay. And that particular pistol, how many bullets do you carry in the gun?
In my handgun that I carry every day is 11.
11. How many does the magazine hold?
10.
Okay. So how does the 11th one get in there?
After we chamber one round into the gun itself, so it's in the barrel, if you will, we top off the magazine with one more round.
Thank you very much. I don't have any further questions for you. I believe defense counsel may have a few.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Got 4 more minutes of break here, so we're going to be catching up by the time we get back.
So you testified that back a couple years ago, you worked at a local police department, is that right?
Correct.
Newfields Police Department, I think you said?
To Newfields and Stratham.
And Stratham. During your time as a police officer there, did you do routine traffic duty?
Yes.
You pulling cars over?
Yes.
And during that time, you would pull cars over for people driving without a license, is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I want to talk about October 1st, early hours of October 2nd? It sounds like you got there mid-afternoon. Early evening on the 1st.
It was, somewhere around there. I don't remember exactly what time it was, but it was definitely sometime in the early evening time frame.
Okay. And was your sole assignment at that time to do the body warrant on Brandon?
It was not.
Okay. The body warrant happened at about 1:20 in the morning, is that right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And is your understanding that Brandon was taken from the scene earlier in the afternoon before you'd even gotten there?
Yes.
Okay. So we were asked some questions about sort of knowing what Brandon was doing during the hours that he was in the police station, whether he was washing his hands or putting things in his mouth. There were police officers at the police station when you were there, right?
Yes.
And even before you got there, watching Brandon, right?
Yes.
They had monitors to see what he was doing, right?
Yes, I would assume so.
Okay. And he wasn't free to just walk out and use the bathroom when he would want to, so they would know if he washed his hands, right?
Yeah, he was not free just to go walk around the police department, absolutely.
Okay. I want to talk to you about the actual, we talked about sort of delayering his clothing.
Correct.
And as you're doing that, the reason that you're doing that is to try to preserve any evidence that may be on his clothing, is that right?
To document it, correct, yeah.
Okay. Not to return to him later. It's for you to give to the state lab, right?
Correct.
Because it may have evidentiary value, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And so you did that. You took each layer of clothing off and you photographed as you were doing each layer, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. I have some pictures that I would like to show you also.
Okay, so here's where the objection comes in.
A good number of them, so bear with me, okay?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question, please?
Okay, so they approach, and there's an objection until break. So let's go ahead and turn that off for now. We're going to catch that up. So it's going to be, I think we've got about 2 minutes now on this feed before it comes back live. But we'll skip ahead, so we'll have that ready. Okay, so we're caught up. We did not miss much. I do what I can for you guys. You know, I've got you in mind. I'm busy. Somebody asked for a Fall Guy emoji. Or do you mean like Fall Guys, like the game that's so popular with kids nowadays? Is that the sort of Fall Guys you're talking about? Okay, let's see. Magic Eraser. Just sort of tweak this a little bit. A guy falling. Just a guy falling. Here's what I'm going to do. Fall Guys is actually a game that kids play, and it's a little game where you run around and trip over things, and you try not to be the one that gets pushed off the bridge or the spinning whatever device it is you're climbing on. So I'm going to try to get to one of those Fall Guy emojis working here. Wait for it. All right. As we're doing this, court should start any second now. We're going to have a little bit of a delay, so I'm going to have the audio on this one. We're just waiting. It's about a minute delay after the other feed starts before we get the other one. So, let's see. Magic Eraser, Magic Edit. No. And I messed it up. All my hard work was lost. Have to restart. Oh, I'm using AI. That's what I'm doing. You're talking about fall flat? I think it's a Stumble Guys or something. Let's see. pickle. And AI completely failed me. I used Magic Edit to try to create a pickle in the background of a picture, and it was not successful. Okay, they're coming back from court right now on the main feed. Do you want to watch that one as long as the picture stays up, or do you want to wait for the other feed?
Seek to strike the ID of defense exhibit U.
This is the main feed.
Objection to make it further.
No objection. Defendant's exhibit U, is that the series of photographs?
Yes.
Okay. Use admitted.
I would like to go through a series of pictures with you. We looked at them during the break. Are these the pictures that you took when you were executing the body search warrant on Brandon?
They are.
Okay. So this first picture, what is that a picture of? So this first picture, what is that a picture of?
His back.
Okay. Is that back full clothed?
Yes.
And that's everything he had on him?
That's exactly. This would have been one of the first photographs in the series showing everything that he was wearing.
Okay, let's move to the next picture. And what's that a picture of?
His right side, same amount of clothing.
See, he's not wearing any socks. I mean, any shoes.
Mm-hmm.
If he had shoes, would those have also been photographed?
If this was the first ones, yes.
Okay. And you did not take any shoes with you into as part of the body warrant?
I'd have to review my DSSP 20.
Okay.
Just to ensure that.
Okay, so I will grab that after we're done with
Okay.
this, okay? Okay, so the next picture, and may I show these to the jury, Your Honor, as we are going through them?
It's entirely up to you.
Thank you. Okay.
You can just pass them around.
Perfect. Start with these. Next picture is fair to say, a close-up of Brandon's face.
Correct.
Okay. And the next is neck down to waist.
Yes, essentially.
If you have a better description.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not a complete neck down. It's partially his face down below his hips.
And the next?
Appears to be his right top of his hand. The left top of his hand.
Thank you.
Right palm. Left palm.
These are all going to be pictures that show nothing. It's just like pictures of a guy.
And first layer of shirt off.
Okay. He had an outer layer shirt in the original pictures, is that right? So you were sort of down to layer.
Correct.
Minus 2.
Left side, layer off.
The last juror is going to have like a whole stack of pictures by the time
layer
we're done.
off. This is showing some, what I called RBS earlier, a reddish brown stain on his back.
Is this one of the acne marks that you were talking about?
This is what appeared to me, once we get down to the other photographs, it appeared to be, it was in that same general location. Here's another one. Here's another one with RBS.
This is a close-up of this blue shirt that he's wearing.
I don't know if that's the outer layer, or if that's, I don't know what order these are in, so I don't know if that's the outer layer, or if that's this layer. They're both blue.
Okay. This is something that you...
I can't tell by this photograph whether or not it was I'll have to see the outer layer.
The last juror is like, I've got a whole stack of pictures that mean nothing to me.
Okay. Does that help you?
I believe this is the inner layer.
Okay. So that would be layer number 2.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay.
Oh.
And same thing.
She didn't hand that one to the jury.
This is the last side
Yep.
that we're on.
This is front with tank top.
It's just pictures of a guy.
left side tank top. Back tank top. Back with tank top again, just showing some more of that, the reddish brown stains.
That were, in your opinion, due to the acne underneath the shirt?
That's what they line up with. More reddish brown stain. Same. Back, that's more of the reddish brown stain. The right side, tank top. This is, I guess, bare skin front. Bare skin left side. Bare skin on the back.
I don't believe self-flagellation is any part of for the Presbyterian religion.
Another one.
And there were no
blurry photo of that area where that RBS was. So I took another one. Let me find it. So this is a duplicate photo. This one's just clear. That one came out blurry, so I took a duplicate.
Okay. So I will group these together.
And another back photo. And multiple more back photos.
Did I say Presbyterian? I believe they are Pentecostal.
More
There's
back
not
photos.
self-flagellation in that, is there? Extreme opposites, yes. They both start with the same letter, and that's about it. And they're both Christian denominations.
And then right side, bare skin. Front with his pants off.
No ginger.
Left side with his pants off.
There's a G in there. Not flatulation, it's flagellation. It's where you...
back side with his pants off.
You punish yourself. Think of like
Right
a
side
whip
with
or
his
something
pants
that
off.
you hit yourself with.
Front with his pants off. Again. Left with his pants off again.
You guys are so bad.
Back with his pants off again. Right with his pants off. Front again with his pants off. This is, I guess, focusing on his legs.
Okay.
His feet. His right foot. His left foot.
Don't do the crime if you don't want to be photographed and have them shown in court.
Left foot again.
Hopefully they won't show us any of them.
And these are some duplicates that appears to be of him fully clothed again, front side and left side.
Which is where we started, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so it's flogging. But usually flogging is done to someone. Flagellation is where you do it to yourself. Zero crime scene pictures have been introduced. 50 pictures of the naked defendant have now been shown to the jury.
Sheriff, would you collect photographs? Thank you.
We put Thal in the corner today. If he promises to be good, we'll let him come out. These pictures prove nothing. That's the interesting thing. This is a nothing. There's no evidence they're seen here. There's no evidence of a struggle. The defense is going to show that, look, there's nothing. You have nothing that says that he did this. You didn't test for gunshot residue. You have not proven that he shot the gun. We just had a house with a locked door with the key that was outside under the mat. And, you know, the defendant inside as well as the victim. But have they convinced us that he pulled the trigger? I would say no. They haven't proven that yet.
Everyone else? Yeah, I don't know how cool it is. So before we started looking at the pictures, I believe you said that you would need to see your evidence examination request form regarding whether there were shoes or not?
Correct.
Okay. Let me just show you. And it is page 301.
A week to 2 weeks. So probably midweek next week.
Okay, yeah, I do not have shoes on there, so I did not seize shoes.
Thank you. So we just went through a significant amount of pictures, is that right?
Correct.
And we wanted to document anything that might be of evidentiary value with the round.
Yes.
And I believe you testified, although if you didn't, I'll ask you, did you burn those CDs, or those pictures to a CD, or how did they get stored?
They would have been, over the years, we've changed process slightly, so I don't recall exactly, but I do burn them to CD and get them to the photo lab. Now we burn them onto a digital drive, so we burn them onto some sort of digital drive. I believe in this case it was a CD.
Okay. So if there were ever any questions, you'd be able to go back and look at pictures of nearly every part of his body, is that right?
All the photographs I took, correct.
Okay. So I also want to talk to you about, briefly, about gunshot residue kits and the one that you did in this case.
Mm-hmm.
You have done the GSR tests in the past, correct?
Correct.
You know how to use them.
Correct.
And when you did the GSR test in Brandon's case, or kit, I shouldn't say test, the kit, there was nothing that concerned you that it wasn't going to be unable to be used for testing later, right?
No.
Okay. You did the kit like you were supposed to, right?
Yes.
And Brandon allowed you to do what you needed to do.
Yes, I don't remember any difficulties whatsoever taking the gunshot residue.
Okay. And the reason that you take those, and you take them pretty regularly, is it specific, and sorry, this might seem like a dumb question, but it's specific to cases involving shooting of guns, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so, sorry, I lost my question. In terms of packaging the kit, there was nothing that concerned you as you were packaging it that would invalidate or be concerned for invalidation of the kit, right?
I would have packaged it a uniform. I mean, we package it the same way every single time it comes in, or it comes with its own packaging. It's something that we just, no, it wouldn't have been something that I noticed that would have changed, I guess.
Okay. And you sent all of the items that we've already talked about with Trooper O'Leary to be entered in at the New Hampshire State Lab. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I just have one moment, Your Honor.
That's the next question. Why were they not tested?
No further questions. Thank you.
But they're not going to ask it.
Any redirect? One question, Your Honor. You'll start first. Detective, sorry to call it. A quick question for you is this. All those photos that we looked through, the different photos of the back, and I just heard you saying as we went through them, did you see any injuries on his back other than that back acting? Did you see any injuries on his back at all or anywhere else on his body?
I did not.
Thanks. No further questions, Your Honor.
No further questions.
Okay. Sergeant, you may sit down. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
May the sergeant be excused?
Please, sir.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you.
Everybody gets excused in New Hampshire. I believe.
You could approach for one moment.
Yes, you may.
Wow. I believe Lori Vallow's they're in lunch right now, and then it will be on to verdict watch. That's my understanding. If somebody can correct that, I think the defense is done. Maybe the prosecution gets one more bite at the apple as far as wrapping it up, but that should be fairly quick. Somebody let me know. New Hampshire's wild. Live free or die. I think that's their slogan, and they live free. Well, I guess in one case, one person died in this one, but let's see. Tony Young says, please remember there are a lot of Pentecostal churches, Assembly of God, Church of God, etc. What I'm telling you is the apostolic belief, apostolic Pentecostal. Yeah, I don't, and I apologize. I wish I knew more about this specific religion. They seem devoted to it. Honestly, it seems like their daily life was filled with things that reflected their religion and their beliefs, which is good. I think anyone who's devoted to their religion should reflect that in their life, how they behave, what they do. I think that's appropriate. So I'm not knocking them for that. I don't think the church and the teachings of the church they went to have any part in this murder, other than that all the people who were participated in this murder, either as a victim, a witness, or the perpetrator, defendant, whatever you want to call them, seem to all be in the same church. So it's coincidental that way, and so it gets brought in a lot. But it's interesting. Correct rebuttal is after lunch. Okay, so that'll be good. Our source has had to leave the courtroom, so we're not getting any more scoop. I did get a little bit more. But 14 jurors, 4 of them are male. A lot of women there, and almost all in long sleeves, which is interesting. Witnesses are dropping like flies. Yeah, I don't know why she didn't ask if it was tested. That was the next question, but it was not asked. And now he's gone.
You can approach the chair, remain standing, and raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you'll give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
Have a seat. And if you could start by just telling us your name and spelling your last name.
My name is Tara Elsmiller, Elsemiller.
How are you employed?
I'm a New Hampshire State Police employee. I'm a state trooper.
Do you have an official rank?
I'm a trooper first class.
Do you work in a particular unit at State Police?
Yes, I work for the Major Crime Unit.
What kind of crimes does the Major Crimes Unit investigate?
They investigate homicides, officer-involved shootings, untimely deaths, suspicious death, conflict cases, and we assist state, local, and federal agencies with those cases.
Before joining, when did you join New Hampshire State Police?
I joined New Hampshire State Police in 2007, and I was a patrol trooper in Troop A, which is out of Epping, New Hampshire, so 95-101, and Route 16 was my patrol for about 5.5 years.
Did you say
and then
Epping,
from
New Hampshire?
2013, I've been in major crime.
Is that a town?
Before joining New Hampshire State Police, did you have any other law enforcement experience?
Just as a civilian.
Epping. I heard F.
As trooper first class, what are some of your duties and responsibilities working in the Major Crimes Unit?
So we assist from the interviewing suspects, witnesses, victims, to collecting and documenting all evidence related to the crime in the field, as well as processing crime scenes.
When you say processing crime scenes, what does that mean?
So we would be photographing video, diagramming, collecting evidence.
Have you received any specialized training while in the Major Crimes Unit?
Yes, prior to coming to the State Police, I got my master's in forensic science, but beyond that, on the job. In 2013, I'm in charge of the Faro 3D scanner project, In 2015, I got my certification from the International Association for Identification as a Crime Scene Investigator. 2018, I went to the National Forensic Academy. I've also been trained in courses, crime scene photography, blood stain pattern analysis, shooting reconstruction, and I've attended forensic conferences since 2006, either as an attendee or lecturing on forensic topics.
Does your work, you mentioned Major Crimes investigates homicides. Does your work ever include observing or analyzing shootings?
Yes.
What kind of evidence can be created in a shooting death?
In a shooting death, you obviously have the firearm, you have the ammunition, you have the magazine of the firearm, you have the bullets, you have defects that are created, you have injured persons and biological evidence.
I'll touch on a few things you said there. You said you used the term defects. Can you tell us what that is?
So basically, in general, that's just damage caused by a bullet.
So that would mean once it's fired, if it hits something and creates damage, that damage would be a defect?
Yes.
And I think you referred to biological matter. What would that be?
So blood, tissue.
Would that include human blood and human tissue?
Yes.
Your time in Major Crimes Unit, how many homicides have you investigated?
So
approximately.
Yeah, approximately. I've been involved in hundreds of investigations, and homicides, it's around 60, and that's not including officer-involved shootings.
Are there any specialized tools that you use to assist in your investigation? I believe earlier you mentioned a Faro scanner.
Yes, so what we do it assists us in documenting the scene, but it helps measurements, which is part of our diagramming. So it gives a three-dimensional image of the crime scene. It's a laser scanner that collects measurements.
When it collects those measurements or scans, how does that appear to you? How do you use that tool?
So what we do is you have the hardware itself that you bring into the field and you scan and you compile those scans together. Let's say you take 10, 20, 15, depending on the scene. And you take those back into the software and you make a scene to go project, which is allow us to see it and then also use that measurement tool inside that project.
Does it appear as like photographs on a computer screen, or what does it look like?
So what it takes, it looks like photographs, but it takes the three-dimensional laser scans and they kind of compile both of those together and they kind of stitch them so you can see that and move through it.
And in that program, are you trained to determine measurements through the use of those scans?
Yes.
And how does that work?
So they have a tool on the side of the software program, and you just click on the 2 points that you're trying to measure, and it'll give you the amount in which that measurement is.
And are those measurements based off the data it's already collected at the scene?
Yes.
In October of 2019, were you working with New Hampshire State Police?
Yes.
What was your assignment at that time?
I was assigned to the Major Crime Unit.
And were the duties and responsibilities you had at that time similar to what you do now?
Yes.
I'll draw your attention to October 1st of 2019. Were you working that day?
Yes.
At some point, did you become involved in the investigation of the shooting death of Luis Garcia?
Yes.
How did you become involved in that investigation?
My lieutenant called me and let me know that there was a shooting.
Were you told any details about where that had occurred or where you were supposed to be reporting?
Yep. So I reported to the Londonderry PD for a briefing on just where the location was going to be and what the circumstances were, and then I proceeded to the residence.
What tasks were you assigned in that investigation?
So Lieutenant Sonia tasked me with the officer in charge of the crime scene, and then when I received the team, I also assigned myself the photographer and the defect report.
You said when you received the team. What do you mean by that?
So Lieutenant Sonia picks, he splits up and the members that are available that night to go to respond. And once I was aware of who they were, then we all got our assignments.
Do you recall who the others were that were part of your team?
Yes.
Who were they?
So they were all troopers on the Major Crime Unit with me. So it was Jay O'Leary, Catherine Shackford, Christopher Martineau, and Matt Anderson.
What were the other Are they troopers, detectives?
So at the time, they were all troopers in major crime, assigned to the major crime unit.
And once they were on your team and you were at the scene, what were their roles?
So Jay O'Leary was the evidence technician. Catherine Shackford was in charge of documenting the diagram as well as doing the video. She also helped with Mr. Garcia's vehicle processing. Christopher Martineau did the Faro scans, and he also took photos of Mr. Garcia's car. And then Matt Anderson, his primary role was to help us search the house.
So after being assigned, did you go to the scene?
Yes.
Where was that?
The scene was at 15 Ridgemont Drive in Londonderry, New Hampshire.
Do you recall what time you arrived there?
Around 7:20 p.m.
What did you do when you got there?
I assisted the assistant deputy medical examiner to do, we call it a walkthrough with her. We assist her in helping identify the deceased.
What's that process look like for you?
So we just walk straight towards where we were told by, in the briefing, where the body and what room that Mr. Garcia was in. And so we go straight there. I usually photograph that path along with the medical examiner that's assigned to the case. And then we go and take photos of exactly what we see when we arrive.
Can you kind of describe the residence there at 15 Ridgemont for us?
So it's in a residential on the cul-de-sac. It was a split-level home, so you walk in the front door, you go up the stairs to the main level, downstairs is the finished basement. And on the first floor, you have the living room, the kitchen right there, open like dining, and then there's a porch off the back. And then if you go down the hallway, there's a bathroom and 3 bedrooms.
How are those bedrooms kind of laid out along that hallway?
So at the end of the hallway, you have the primary or master bedroom on the right side of the hallway, and on the left there's 2 bedrooms.
Okay. Which room was, was there a deceased person? Obviously, was it Luis Garcia in this case?
Yes.
Okay. What room was he found in?
He was found, we labeled it on the diagram as a bedroom 1.
So for use in your role at the scene, you refer to it as bedroom 1?
Yes.
And what about the other room that was on that side of the hallway?
We labeled that as bedroom 2.
Did you ever go into that room, bedroom 2?
Yes.
And from what was inside there, could you determine whose room that belonged to?
That Mr. Castiglione's room.
And who's Mr. Castiglione?
The suspect.
The full name?
Oh, Brandon.
Okay.
Sorry, I apologize.
That's okay. So bedroom 2 then, that was the defendant's bedroom?
Yes.
Okay. Was that room ever searched by you or members of your team?
Yes.
Okay. Did that include a set of drawers that was inside that room?
Yes.
Where was that set of drawers exactly?
It was near the bed. There was the bed, the trash, the filing cabinet, or drawers, and then the desk.
Okay. I'm going to show on the screen here. States, turn it on. States 30. Is this the filing cabinet that you observed?
Yes.
Was the inside of that filing cabinet ever searched?
Yes.
Okay. Was it documented with photographs?
Yes.
How about the top drawer specifically? Was that opened?
Yes.
I'll show you States 29. Is that the contents of what was in that drawer, the top drawer of that cabinet inside the defendant's bedroom?
Yes.
I want to talk about more of your observations in processing the scene. Starting with when you first arrived, can you take us through what you observed as you entered the house and made your way to that bedroom where the investigation was focused, bedroom 1?
So similar to what I already described, the living room, I went up the stairs, we go down the hallway. In the hallway there's 2 plastic drawers for storage, and on top of that was a firearm. Then you walked into bedroom 1, and that's where Mr. Garcia was laying. That bedroom had like drop cloths all over it. They were working on it, so all the furniture was kind of gathered in the middle, and there was a light on at the time.
Did you observe Mr. Garcia's body inside that room?
Yes.
First, states 7. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
Okay, and what does that depict?
This depicts.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. If you can display to the jury.
So this is Mr. Garcia's lower torso, like in body. Without,
We're going to cut away
his
from
legs
this.
kind of crumbled underneath him.
And state 7. Do you recognize this photograph?
This photo is the top, from the top of him, where there's pooling of blood, and then his head and his arms are up.
And is that how he appeared when you observed him that day?
Yes.
Sorry, we don't need to show that.
You mentioned earlier that you were trained, and I believe you said it was shooting reconstruction. And one of the terms you talked about were defects, damage caused by bullets. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you observe any defects in the bedroom where Mr. Garcia was found?
I did.
Okay. And again, we'll refer to states 8. Where in this photograph, can anybody see? Where in that photograph approximately?
She needs to step down to show.
Sure. Yeah.
I'd rather do that than put the photo up on the monitor.
Understood, Judge. So let me hold the photo.
I'm going to cut away from this for a little bit.
So where in this photograph in relation to Mr. Garcia's body did you observe the defect?
Right around here.
To the right of the window that's depicted?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And you can... Did you take photographs of that defect that you observed?
Yes, I did.
It's not a very clear shot, but I didn't want it shown.
States 67. Does that depict at a wide angle the defect that you observed?
Yes.
I was thinking maybe the camera could pan just a tiny bit to the left.
States. Excuse me, one moment, Your Honor.
There's the defect right next to the window.
States 67 and 68. Are these closer photos of the defect that you observed?
Yes.
Why don't you step down?
Yeah, absolutely.
Explain what we're exactly looking at, and you can refer to both photographs.
Okay. So this is the defect that I observed. I labeled it defect A, so we could describe it. And then around the defect, there is blood and tissue.
And do you recognize that blood and tissue through your experience, your training?
Yes.
You had mentioned biomatter earlier.
Yeah.
Right?
Correct.
And the shape of this defect, how did it appear to you? Just general descriptions. How deep was it?
So we didn't like measure it, but it definitely made so that when the bullet went through Mr. Garcia, you have a certain amount of energy, and then as it goes through objects, that energy changes and it shifts based on a lot of factors. And in this one, it just made it like a shallow, like an impression. It's damaged, it's a defect, but the bullet actually wasn't able to penetrate or perforate the surface, and it ended up on the floor.
Okay, so the bullet was found on the floor. That's good clarification.
Were you able to determine at what height that defect was?
Yes.
And how were you able to determine that?
We used that Scene to Go project that I'm mentioning. I took a measurement from the floor to the ceiling, windowsill, and then from the windowsill to the height of the defect.
Okay. I'm going to show you state 71. Is this a depiction of that measurement you took from the Faro scan?
Yes.
I know it may be difficult. I don't know if the actual photo is much better. But let me bring that to you.
Let's take a look at that real quick.
And which do you think would depict this better to the jury?
I think this may be the photo.
Okay.
Yeah, just because of the lighting.
So, referring to this photo, what points did you measure from?
So this is basically the edge of the crown molding on the ground and the floor, all the way to the corner of the windowsill, on the right corner.
And how far was that measurement?
A little bit over 3 feet.
Okay. I see here on the photo itself that it says 3.02 feet.
Yes.
Okay. And then I'm showing you state 70. Is this also another scan from the Pharaoh that you used to help measure the distance to the defect?
So so this is in the scan project, and then I took a screenshot of this.
Okay.
Yep. Of these measurements.
And tell us what you measured here.
So I measured from, this is like a closet frame, door frame, to the windowsill that I measured to last time, and then I went 90 degrees up to get another 90-degree measurement over to the center of the defect.
Okay. So from the windowsill and using this screenshot from the Pharaoh scan, what distance was the windowsill to the height of the defect?
It was 1.37 feet.
So I think before the scan up to the windowsill was 3.02?
Yes.
So at what height, using those two measurements and basic math, at what height was that defect?
I think we said it was 4 point, I didn't do all the decimals, but it's like around 4 feet 5 inches.
Now, through the investigation that you were involved in, was Mr. Garcia's height ever determined?
Yes, from his license.
Okay. Where was his license found?
In his wallet.
Okay. How tall did his license indicate he was?
Mr. Garcia was 5'8", 5 feet 8 inches.
Did you become aware through the investigation of what Brandon Castiglione's height was?
Yes, Brandon Castiglione, also from his license from his from bedroom 2, was 5 foot 6 inches.
All right, I want to go back to the defect we observed. Specifically, states 68, and then a little bit closer from that was states 69. And we've been through that. You had talked about that the bullet had slowed a little bit from losing energy. Is that right?
Yes.
And then, but it was able to, from your determination, break the surface of that drywall in the room.
Yes.
And just to make sure, and this may again seem like an obvious question, but this defect that you observed, based on your training and your experience, did you recognize that defect as having been created by a bullet?
Yes.
Was there a bullet found in the room with Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
I'll show you states 21. States 21. Do you recognize what's depicted in that photo?
Yes.
And what is that?
It's the bullet.
Okay. And is states 22, does that depict where the bullet was located?
Yes.
And where was that in the room?
Under the footstool.
Okay. To talk to you now about back to
Good shot from behind, fell forwards, bounced off the wall.
69 to
and over
59
the side.
defect, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now I want to show you state 73. This is an overlay of this photograph with, hold on, I'll get the reference. States 50B. Looking at this image as a whole, including the defect from states from the photo we had. I'm not recalling the exhibit off the top of my head, but compared with 50B, and using your training experience, does the defect and the bullet that was collected at the scene depicted in 50B, were those consistent with that defect having been created by the bullet found inside that room?
Yes.
Okay. You mentioned that was there a casing found in the room?
Yes.
Okay. Where was that found?
It was on the drop cloth.
Okay. About how, were there any other objects or near the casing that you recall?
There was the bullet and then Mr. Garcia, all in that same vicinity.
Was there a firearm found inside the residence?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall any details about that firearm or where it was located?
It was located in the hallway, basically parallel with the door to bedroom 2.
Did you, using again the Faro scans, did you use the data there to determine distances between those objects found in the room with Mr. Garcia? The objects being Mr. Garcia himself, the casing, the bullet, and then the firearm?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what is states 72. But does this photograph depict your use of the Faro scan to determine those measurements?
Yes.
I'll give you the actual photograph. Just talk about. So using the measurements depicted in that photograph, what were the differences between those items found in the room?
So what I did is I took all the measurements off the casing.
Okay.
So it was casing to Mr. Garcia, casing to the bullet, and the casing to the firearm.
Okay. And what were those distances?
So the distance from the casing to Mr. Garcia was a little over 3 feet. The measurement from the casing to the bullet was a little bit over 2 feet. And the casing to the firearm was 6.8 feet.
Were you involved in searching the rest of the residence at 15 Ridgemont Drive?
Yes.
In that search, were there any other defects, like the one you found in the wall above Mr. Garcia, found anywhere else in the residence?
No.
Were there any other fired bullets found anywhere else in the residence?
No.
I'll talk to you. At some point in your investigation, did you receive a silver Samsung Galaxy S8, a cell phone belonging to Luis Garcia?
Yes.
Who did you receive that from?
The assistant deputy medical examiner.
Okay. What did you do with that cell phone after you received it?
I gave it to Trooper First Class Tamer Hester.
Okay. What was the purpose of giving that to Trooper Hester?
To analyze it.
Okay. So she was going to analyze it in some way?
Yes.
Were you involved in that at all?
No.
So you just gave it to her?
Yes.
Was that done with the consent of anybody?
The wife of Mr. Garcia.
Do you recall her name at all?
Patricia?
Okay. You said you'd been involved in the search of the rest of the home. Did you continue taking photographs throughout the house?
Yes.
Okay. I want to go through some of those photographs with you. I think from here, we should be able to do it from the TV. So first I'm showing you State 74. What does that photo depict?
That is the living room.
Okay. Are the windows depicted in that photo?
Yes.
Were those windows shut at the time that you were at the residence?
Yes.
Do you remember approximately what time you were taking photos after you arrived at the scene?
I don't.
In general?
I know I started, we processed at 7:20, and then after, these photos might have been done after the warrant was signed. I don't know what time that was.
Was it within the next day or so?
Yes.
Okay. I'll show you now State 75. Do you recognize this photo?
Yes.
And what does that depict?
That is the room off the living. Is that off the living room?
So if I show you state 76,
I was taking these
Okay.
pictures.
jog your memory then?
Yeah, so that's off. So that's the porch off the kitchen.
These doors are?
Yes.
Okay, but then going back to 75, can you then figure out what these windows, where these were located?
Yes, that's on that porch. Like the no, that's the dining room to the porch. I think.
So I see, are there doors to the left in that photograph?
Yes.
Okay, and were those the doors out to the porch?
Yes.
Okay. So were these windows, you said, were in the dining room?
Yes.
I see, were there objects in front of those windows?
Yes.
And were those windows shut at the time you observed them?
Yes.
So looking at states, this was 76. Was this the back door to the porch, you said, right?
Yes.
And did you make any observations about whether that door was locked or not when you arrived there?
The deadbolt on the top is turned. It was locked.
Okay. And was it shut when you arrived at the scene?
Yes.
And then did you ever take a picture out on the porch beyond those doors?
Yes.
And this is states 77. Can you kind of describe what we're looking at here?
So that is the door to the stairs going outside off the porch.
And any observations about how this door appeared at the time?
It had objects in front of it.
Okay. Were there any tears in the screen or anything that you noticed?
No.
Now back inside the house, what is this photo depict?
That is the hallway bathroom.
Okay. And when you say hallway bathroom, you mean the hallway going down to the bedrooms in the house?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember what side of the bedroom or what side of the hallway this bathroom was on?
On the right.
Okay. And again, the window, how did that appear at the time?
It has the fans in the window.
Which exhibit is that?
This was, I'm sorry, this was 78. And then states 79. Do you recognize this?
That is the bedroom to the right, the master bedroom.
This was the master bedroom?
Yes.
Okay. Any observations about the windows in that room at the time?
The curtains are covering them.
Did it appear anybody had entered through those windows?
No.
And just remind us, this was on which floor of the house?
This is the main floor.
And split level, is that higher than, say, a ranch? The windows would be?
Yes.
Now, it states 81. We've seen a similar photo of this before, but which window is depicted here?
This is bedroom 1, where
Okay.
Mr. Garcia was.
And was this the window that was above Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
Was that window shut and locked?
Yes.
And states 82. What window is depicted here?
That's on the other side of the room in bedroom 2.
Okay. Was that a corner bedroom?
Yeah.
Okay. So this would have been the opposite corner then, or opposite wall.
Yes.
Was that window shut and locked?
Yes.
And states 83. Where was this window located?
This is downstairs.
Okay. So on the lower level?
Lower level, yes.
And all those objects in front of the window, those were there when you arrived at the scene and took those photos?
Yes.
Okay. It appeared that they had been shifted or moved at any time?
No.
Okay. And otherwise, were those windows shut?
Yes.
States 84. Where are these windows located here?
So again, it's on that lower level, but instead of going down to the right, you go down to the left.
Okay. What kind of room did it appear this room was in the lower level?
It had lots of things, but there's weights in there and storage, and I think there's a bed in a different picture.
Okay. Did it appear that these objects in the photo in front of the windows, did it appear they had been shifted or moved recently?
No.
Okay. And was that window depicted on the screen now, was that shut and locked?
Yes.
States 85. Again, same wall, I believe, but that window, the objects in front of it, did it appear that they had been shifted or moved recently?
No.
I see a DARE
Was the
certificate
window
there.
shut?
Graduation. DARE stands for drugs are
And
really
then this
expensive.
window depicted here, what room was that in?
That's all that same open space downstairs.
Okay. And again, objects in front of that window, did they appear shifted or moved recently at all?
No.
And was that window shut?
Yes.
And then States 87. Which window is depicted here?
That is a downstairs bathroom.
Okay. It appeared that window was shut.
Yes.
And then States 88. What are we looking at here?
It's a bulkhead.
The bulkhead? So is that a big door?
Yes.
Okay. And it was shut at the time that you observed it?
Yes.
Did it appear that it was locked at the time you observed it?
Yes.
In your search, or in the time that you spent in the defendant's bedroom, the bedroom next to where Mr. Garcia was found, did you observe the window in that room as well?
Yes.
Had it appeared at any time that the window had been opened or anyone had entered the home through that window?
No.
One moment, Your Honor.
Yeah, that was interesting. A DARE certificate, a graduation certificate, typically given out to elementary school students. It was in the same room as all the workout equipment there on the wall. Had the punching bag, that Wave Master punching bag, the
I have no
barbells.
further questions for you, but I think that's counsel.
The barbells with 20 pounds of weight. Little boombox. It's one of those paper diplomas, and it was like folded open and on display on the wall. I'm not familiar with bulkhead. We don't have those around here, I don't think. Cellar door is a bulkhead, goes from the basement.
Feel free to pour yourself some water if you need some.
Thank you.
It's kind of warm in here.
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
Yeah. It gets that way in the afternoon.
Please slurp.
Yes, you may.
Approach. It seems like there are lots of things the council has not sorted out before this trial began, and they need to address with the judge. So they're doing that again right now. Hey, Karen, welcome. Good to have you here. Do we know if Brandon is on the spectrum? There's been no discussion of that, although there's been a couple items of interest that have been brought up. The sister had a dream that something was wrong, and she was really worried about him. We've heard that there may be some prior charges for drug involvement in some manner that may have involved both the son and the dad at that house with a sort of a side venture. Crazy stuff. But I don't know. The defense is not bringing it up. They're not saying that there's any mental type of issue, competency type issue as their defense. They're just attacking the workmanship of the police department in the investigation. Seems to be their main motive or their main target. Bulkhead is an opening way to get into the cellar or lower level of the house. So apparently I have a bulkhead on my house because I have one of those.
Do not pay any attention to any media coverage while you're out there over the night. Avoid the social media posts that I talked to you about earlier. Do not discuss the case amongst yourselves or amongst anybody else. And we'll see you all back here tomorrow morning. All rise to the jury, please.
And like that, we get an early out. They're doing this trial on the fly. Let's see if they work anything outside the presence of the jury. Mrs. V, welcome back.
All right, thank you. Everybody, please be seated. Trooper, you're free to step down.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Just your sequester, so don't discuss your testimony until you resume tomorrow morning, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Before you all go, I was just curious, in terms of
Questions? Why aren't you asking?
trial plan, where are we on that? How are we proceeding in terms of pace?
I think Your Honor can still have there's 4 witnesses that I can think of much more with regards to that. That they would be short of making a decision.
Oh, now they cut it out. Okay, I heard the state say there are probably 4 more witnesses that they can think of. We're going to keep listening in case I'll keep the audio on, but we're going to cut the video in case they turn it back on. 4 more witnesses that they can think of for the state. Then it may go to defense. I don't know who the state's going to call, but everybody who has testified so far, every single witness, except for the police officer who testified right before lunch. We don't know about her. Every other one has been excused from the case, or excused from the subpoena. So they will not be testifying again. They're all sitting in court, most of them. Everyone sticks around to see how it turns out. Are we on verdict watch for Lori Vallow? It's really close. I think we're in a rebuttal right now for the state on prosecution, and then we'll be there. One more time when there's a break, please. What is the deal with the shooting at church? Who shot whom? I can't keep it straight in my head. Okay, Perry, here's the thing. I'll go over this really quickly, and I'll try to make it clear. I need some props. Here we go. There are 2 bad guys with guns, okay? 2 different guns, 2 different bad guys. We have the defendant, who is going to be the cow in this case, because he's looking sort of sad. So we have the defendant, and then we also have Mr. Holloway. Mr. Holloway is the pickle. The defendant shot, allegedly, Mr. Holloway's dad, Luis, while he was painting. That's what this trial is about. The defendant shooting Mr. Holloway's dad. 12 days later, the defendant is sitting in jail. He's locked up in jail down here. Mr. Holloway goes to the church where they all attend, where the defendant's dad is getting married to his fiancée. He goes to the church and shoots the fiancé and the preacher. So Pickle shoots Cow after Cow shoots Pickle's dad. Or Pickle shoots Cow's dad's fiancé and preacher after Cow shoots Pickle's dad's... Yeah, I can see why you're confused. I don't know if that makes it any better. Where's the giant bullet? Yeah, I need to fix this. Does that make a little sense? You've got the defendant, who's Brandon Castiglione, apparently Castiglione, bad cow, bad pickle. That's pretty much how it goes. Mr. Castiglione allegedly shot Luis Garcia, who was the minister, while he was painting in Mr. Castiglione's house. So Mr. Castiglione, Brandon, is in jail. He's the defendant in the button-up shirt. The son-in-law of Mr. Garcia, who died, 12 days later, goes to the church. Okay, the church schedules the funeral for Mr. Garcia and the wedding for Cowguy's dad at the back to back. And so the groups are there almost at the same time. And it's in that close-up where, families together again, that the fight breaks out and the shooting happens. The bride and the preacher get shot. Both of them recover. They're okay. Everything's good there. There was supposedly some other stuff involved there as well, where the dad of Cowguy, okay, so we're talking Mr. Castiglione, the guy whose house the murder occurred in, went to Mrs. Garcia's house and possibly tried to intimidate her in some way, or she felt she was being intimidated. The police had to remove him. There was a restraining order, so he couldn't go there anymore. So I guess church services, one of the families had to quit going. But Stephen says, now I'm even more confused. Yeah, and the feed's completely done. It's done. So we're done for the day. Yeah, that's where we're at. So it was the cow shot the pickle in the library. In the bedroom, actually, but yes, other than that, it's right. I thought the defendant's dad was also shot. No, we originally thought it was that, but on reading more reports, I heard only 2 people were shot, and it was the bride, who was the fiance of the dad, and the preacher. Wedding and the funeral on the same day. Yes, it's like having the Hatfields and McCoys having 2, family events at the church back to back at the same church. It was not a good plan. You killed my father. Prepare to die. My name is the Nico Montoya. Yeah, that is a great quote. Diet Coke Mama, thank you for that one. Love that movie. We need a brandy chart. It would be really confusing. There would be lots of string and lines going all over the place. Defendant's dad was hit with something. I believe some fists were thrown as well. It was the cow in the bedroom with the pistol, yes, and then later Pickle at the church with the pistol. So both happened. And don't forget, Mr. Pickle, after he's arrested for going to the church and shooting up the wedding, he's in court and he attacks I think he's meeting with his lawyer, and he attacks his lawyer. So he's also getting charged for attacking his lawyer. I think he pled guilty to that one. And so I think he's in jail right now on that. You can't make this stuff up. This is so good. We need a chart with arrows. Oh, we do. Let's work on that. Okay, so here we are with Lori Vallow. The drama is crazy. I was just going to say Hatfields and McCoys. Funny thing, the Hatfield-McCoy trail system in West Virginia, I almost moved there to start a glamping service with some really high-end yurts, like Pacific yurts, like 30-foot round buildings made of canvas that you live in, 2-story, have the bunk beds upstairs, kitchen, bathroom, everything, air conditioning. That was the plan, and then I ended up in North Carolina instead. But one day I might make it out there and set those up. Has Pickle been prosecuted? I think that's in the works. He's been prosecuted. I think he pled guilty to attacking his lawyer, but is still trying to fight the church thing. And don't forget this. He's also a pro se guy. Okay, so he does it on his own a little bit. Good stuff all around. So both of these guys have been pro se. Both Pickle and Cow at one point have been pro se. Going to send a picture of the guy who shot up the church. Wow, he's a looker. Check a burner phone in a second. Unsure if it's Garcia's son-in-law. I'll take a peek. Let's see. That's from V News. Let me just check the source here. Oh, I get one free article remaining. Love paywalls. Booking photo released by Pelham Police Department shows Dale Holloway arrested on several charges following a shooting at a wedding in New England. This is Mr. Pickle. For those that are curious, let me set the focus so you can see. I'm not going to bother loading this on my screen. That's him. That's Pickle who shot up the church, according to the news report here. So yeah, couldn't get any better. Did that clear up all your questions? Dale Holloway and Mr. Pickle. Oh, Illinois Mama says, I got my first jury summons in the mail. My husband says I've been practicing on here for 6 months, so I'm ready for foreman. Go there, bring a notepad, and just ask questions. No, here's what I'd say, Illinois Mama. If you want to serve on the jury, and even if you don't, I'd say either way, before you actually show up and answer the summons, obviously you want to do it on the timely manner like they tell you to do, but go to Matthew Harris's channel and watch all his videos on jury service, including the funny ones. Don't do the things which he says which is wrong, but do the things that are right, and that may improve your odds of being selected. Obviously, it's still a little bit of luck of the draw, and which number you are is a big thing. So register early and just get there and see what happens. I have not followed Jody. I have not followed Pickle's trial, so I don't know where that's at. I've got like car stereo shaking my house right now. All right, so it looks like we're still in verdict watch. We're not going to be transferring straight to Brandy's channel, unfortunately, because we're going to wrap up tonight and be done. But we will have to keep an eye out. Would you like me to do a quick live stream and go live when the Lori Vallow verdict comes out, if it comes out tonight, and then we can all jump over together? Would that be all right? We're seeing yes, please. Okay, I think that would be awesome. So we'll hold off on jumping over to the channel because there's nothing yet. I won't go live Yes, go live, please, but don't if you're busy with your fam. Right. Here's what I do. It's not going to be live streaming the verdict. Brandy and JT are going to be live streaming the verdict. It probably won't come in today, honestly, when you look at it. I don't know. It's a big case to have a quick answer like that. But we'll see. Anyway, when it happens, I'll go live briefly, and then we'll just jump over, and then we'll watch it on Brandy's channel. Pickle looks spicy. Good stuff. Okay. Any other questions we can answer today before we wrap up? We're going to start this again tomorrow, same time, 9 o'clock in the morning. It's going to be good. No questions? No questions? Family first? Yeah, we'll take care of family. We're going to do that right now. Are Brandy and JT planning to share the audio from today of closing? Yes, they will, especially if there's not a verdict. If there's a verdict, the verdict's going to come first, and then probably they'll go back and listen to the closing audio. That way you'll get a notification. Yes, have the bell rung, click the subscribe button, and we'll get there together. I'm going to find you a gavel stress ball. I have a gavel. It's sitting in my car because I brought it with me to the job fair last night. And nobody could understand what I was doing. When I tried to explain it to them, they're like, you do what? I'm like, I'm a gamer. I'm an online gamer. That makes sense to them. Only games for me are court. And they're like, so it's boring stuff? I'm like, yep, pretty much. Anyway, we're good. Brandy's amazing. Please give her a follow. That's awesome. Thank you all. Did you watch Matthew Harris's new video? If you haven't, this is an assignment. There will be a test. You need to do it before tomorrow. Let's go ahead and put a link up there in chat really quickly for Matthew Harris's channel. He just dropped a new video today about getting your kids back. It's good to know these things. CPS is scary in some states, and this is good. What did I miss? Just got home from work. We've had a wild day, Tim. This trial, the thing that gets me about this trial more than anything else is what they don't do, and they're skipping asking the questions that everyone wants to know. They're not going there. They're not asking. They're not testing things. They're just assuming that we'll lead you halfway there, and you could just figure out the rest yourself, and then all the witnesses are being excused. So it's going to be good. Where are the sound effects? I just turned them on. Sorry, I forgot about them, Boston Girl. You need to remind me earlier, and then see how I just blamed you for it. I'm sorry about that. Vallow trial. Prosecution rebuttal is over.
Vallow trial. Prosecution rebuttal is over.
Dr. G has a new video as well. He dropped. I have not even seen what it's about. I'm hoping it's about Letitia Stout. Is that the one it's about? Let's see. That should be his wrap-up for that trial.
Let no dead horse go unbeaten.
Let me give a quick look here. Let's see. His latest video. Yeah, Letitia Stout analyzing body language during victim impact statements. Good stuff. Okay, so we'll give that a watch as well. I know most of you are already followers of Dr. G. If you are not, you can find his link on my Friends of the Channel page. He's a great friend of the program. He's been on here a couple times already. Let me put it up in chat right now for a link to his videos or his channel. Hold tight here. I need to make a quick link for him. Okay. So there we go. This is the link for Dr. G Explains right here. And he just barely dropped a new video about the body language during the closing or the victim impact statements of the trial, which are going to be great. So between that and Matthew Harris Law, you've got a lot of homework for tonight. And we'll be watching the Idaho news on Lori Vallow, see if we get a verdict. If there's a verdict, we'll do a live really quickly to let everyone know there's a verdict. That'll send the message out to all of you. And then we'll switch over to Brandy's channel. Oh, I'm almost done. Don't leave me. All right. My wife says I'm leaving, so I'm going to quickly get off the phone before she does leave so I can see where she's going. All right, guys. Thank you. Tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love. Smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better. And please stay safe till we go live again, which may be soon if there's a verdict. It may be very soon. Thank you all. Have a great day. I appreciate every single one of you. Thal, even you. Love you, man. Appreciate everyone dialing it back a little bit. We went a little off the rails today, but we'll get back on track. So thank you. You guys are amazing. Have a great day. Please stay safe. Love you all. Good night.